Imagine standing before ruins older than recorded history. Silent stones whispering secrets that no scholar can decipher. Across the world, fragments of civilizations long gone lie scattered beneath our feet, objects that defy our understanding, monuments aligned with the stars, artifacts suggesting knowledge far beyond their age. They are puzzles written in earth and stone, reminders that human history may be deeper, stranger, and far more complex than we've been taught. For every triumph of modern archaeology, there remain questions that resist explanation. Why do colossal statues seem to sing at dawn? Who crafted intricate devices centuries before their time? How could ancient hands carve, transport, and raise stones heavier than modern cranes can lift? Science has answered much, but these mysteries linger like shadows at the edge of our knowledge, challenging reason, stirring imagination, and hinting that perhaps we are missing a vital piece of the story. Tonight, we journey into the heart of the unknown. So sit back, let curiosity guide you, and together we'll explore the archaeological mysteries that science still cannot explain. Beneath the dry, windswept plains of southern Peru, the desert holds its secrets in silence. Stretching for miles, the Nazca region is best known for its enormous geoglyphs, the Nazca lines, etched into the arid soil over 1,000 years ago. Yet in recent years, it is not the vast drawings of hummingbirds or serpents that have drawn the world's attention. It is something far smaller, far stranger. The so-called Nazca Mummies. The first images emerged quietly, circulating through local news reports and online forums. They showed small, desiccated bodies, white from preservation, their elongated skulls tilted upward, their faces eerily expressionless. Most striking of all, each figure appeared to have 3 long, delicate fingers on each hand, 3 elongated toes on each foot. Their bodies were slender, their rib cages narrow, their posture almost fetal. At once, human-like, and not. The discovery was said to have taken place near Nazca, in caves or hidden tombs not far from where the ancient Nazca people once lived. But from the beginning, details were hazy, sources conflicted, and questions piled upon questions. Who unearthed them? From what tomb or burial ground did they come? And, most importantly, were they authentic? Scientists, archaeologists, and journalists soon took notice. Independent groups sought to analyze the remains. Some claimed radiocarbon testing dated the mummies to more than 1,000 years ago, squarely within the time of the Nazca culture itself. CT scans, they reported, revealed internal organs, even structures resembling eggs within one specimen. Yet other experts, reviewing the same images, raised doubts. Could these be elaborate forgeries crafted by assembling human or animal bones into new forms, then coated with plaster or diatomaceous earth to mimic ancient preservation? The debate grew louder. Peru's Ministry of Culture expressed skepticism, warning against looting and the distortion of archaeological heritage. Scholars pointed out that elongated skulls are not unknown in the region. Cranial deformation was practiced by several pre-Columbian cultures. Could the strange skulls simply be an exaggerated form of this ritual? And as for the 3 fingers, could they be the result of deliberate modification, or even a clever modern hoax designed to stir headlines and tourism? Yet for every skeptical explanation, a counterclaim emerged. Supporters of the mummy's authenticity argue that the level of detail in the joints and bones suggests deliberate design, not random assembly. They cite DNA tests allegedly showing that the specimens do not match fully with known human or animal genomes. They point to their consistency, multiple bodies, not just one, each exhibiting the same peculiar features. If they were fakes, why go to such extraordinary lengths with such anatomical precision? The scientific community, by and large, urges caution. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Peer-reviewed studies remain scarce, and much of the testing has been carried out outside formal academic channels, raising questions about methodology and reliability. For many researchers, the lack of transparent provenance, the absence of a verifiable excavation context, undermines confidence from the start. Still, the mystery persists. The Nazca Desert has long been fertile ground for speculation. Its vast, barren landscape feels otherworldly, its great lines visible only from above, sparking theories of ancient astronomers or visitors from the skies. Against such a backdrop, the discovery of bodies that look almost human, yet subtly alien, seems almost inevitable. Is it coincidence that such remains surfaced here, of all places? Or is it precisely the mythic aura of Nazca that gives them their power? To the trained eye, there are rational explanations. To the untrained, the mummies remain haunting, unforgettable. Each photograph seems to pose the same silent question. Who were they? Ancient humans with unusual deformities? Sacred effigies crafted for ritual purposes? Elaborate forgeries designed for profit? Or something else? The desert does not answer. It preserves, it hides. For over a millennium, these bodies, whether authentic or constructed, lay concealed beneath layers of sand and stone. Why did they surface now? Who decided it was time for them to be seen? As night falls over the Nazca Plain, the wind sweeps across the abandoned geoglyphs, the figures carved into the earth stretching endlessly into the horizon. Above them, the stars burn bright, as they did for the Nazca people 1,000 years ago. And somewhere, in locked boxes, in museum vaults, in private collections, the strange white figures lie waiting. Mute, mysterious, unresolved. Perhaps, in time, new evidence will emerge. Perhaps technology will finally separate truth from fabrication. Or perhaps the desert will keep its silence and the Nazca mummies will remain what they are today, a riddle balanced between science and speculation, history and imagination. And so we are left with a question that lingers long after the images fade. What else lies beneath the sands of Nazca, still hidden, still watching, still waiting to be found? From the sands of Peru, we now turn east, far across mountains and seas, to the windswept deserts of southeastern Iran. Here, in a land where the earth itself seems scorched by the sun, lies the ancient city of Shahr-e Sukhteh, the burnt city. At first glance, its ruins are little more than low mounds of clay and mud brick walls, the remains of a Bronze Age settlement, long since abandoned. Yet beneath this barren surface, archaeologists have uncovered one of the most extraordinary and puzzling artifacts in human history: a single artificial eye, crafted nearly 5,000 years ago. Discovered in 2006 within a burial tomb, the find captured the imagination of historians and scientists alike. The remains belonged to a woman, no more than 30 years old at the time of her death. She was tall for her era, unusually so, and within the hollow of her left eye socket, researchers found something astonishing. Resting where her natural eye should have been was a small, hemispherical object. At first glance, it looked like stone, perhaps even a bead, but closer inspection revealed it to be nothing less than a prosthetic eye, an ancient attempt at medical or cosmetic restoration. The object itself is remarkable. Roughly the size of a modern glass eye, it was crafted not from glass, but from a mixture of natural bitumen and animal fat, hardened into shape. Across its surface, artisans had carefully applied a thin layer of gold, polished to shine like the white of an eye. At its center, they inscribed a dark circle representing the iris. Radiating outward from it, fine lines of gold traced the delicate pattern of veins, like rays of sunlight captured in metal. 2 tiny holes pierced the sides, suggesting that the eye was held in place by threads, likely made of gold as well, securing it within the socket. For thousands of years, this eye remained hidden in the desert soil, preserved by the arid climate. When it was revealed, it forced scholars to confront a startling question. How could a society so ancient possess the skill, the vision, and perhaps the motivation to create such a thing? Shahr-e Sukhteh was no ordinary settlement. At its height, around 3000 BCE, it flourished as a major center of trade and craftsmanship. Excavations have revealed advanced knowledge of textiles, ceramics, and even what may be one of the world's earliest known games resembling backgammon. Yet the artificial eye stands apart. Few artifacts from the Bronze Age suggest such a sophisticated understanding of human anatomy or such dedication to restoring what had been lost. Some argue that the eye was primarily cosmetic, an adornment meant to restore the appearance of wholeness. If so, it reveals something profound, that this society valued not only survival, but also dignity, that they saw beauty and social presence as worth preserving, even for those with injuries or disabilities. The fact that the eye shows evidence of wear, small abrasions from use, suggests it was worn in life, not merely placed after death. The woman who carried it may have endured discomfort, even infection, but she continued to present herself with the aid of this remarkable device. And yet, the mystery deepens. Why such opulence? Why coat the surface with gold, a material both rare and precious? Was this eye an early form of prosthetics, born of medical necessity? Or was it something more symbolic, more ritualistic? Could it have marked the woman as a figure of power? Perhaps a priestess, a healer, or someone who bore a sacred role in her community? In many ancient cultures, the eye was more than an organ of sight. It was a symbol of divine perception, of insight beyond the ordinary. In Mesopotamia, the all-seeing eye was linked to gods and kings. In Egypt, the eye of Horus was a symbol of protection and resurrection. Could it be that the woman of Shahr-e Sukhteh wore her golden eye not simply as a prosthetic, but as a mark of spiritual identity, an emblem of vision that transcended the human? Skeptics caution us not to overreach. Perhaps it was nothing more than a practical solution, an early attempt to mask injury or disfigurement. But even then, it stands as the earliest known ocular prosthesis in the world, predating others by millennia. What inspired its creation? Was it an isolated invention, born of a single artisan's ingenuity? Or does it hint at a broader tradition of medical experimentation that has since been lost to time? More speculative theories push further. Some suggest that the precision of its design, the near-modern conception of a prosthetic device, points to knowledge out of place in the Bronze Age. Could there have been influences, ideas, techniques, moving across regions in ways we have not yet traced? Shahr-e Sukhteh lay along ancient trade routes that connected Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, and beyond. Perhaps knowledge flowed with goods, and with it, the seeds of early medical innovation. Others take the mystery further still. They ask whether the golden eye might represent not simply human craftsmanship, but contact with something outside the known traditions of the time, whether cultural, symbolic, or even otherworldly. It is a question that resists proof, yet lingers in the imagination. For now, the artificial eye remains silent, preserved in museum collections and studied by specialists. It tells us that the people of Shahr-e Sukhteh were not only skilled artisans, but also people who cared about identity, appearance, and perhaps the spirit. And yet it withholds its greatest secrets. Who was the woman who wore it? How did she live, and how did others see her? Was she admired, pitied, revered? Did her golden gaze inspire awe or fear? The burnt city has given us many treasures: ancient dice, delicate jewelry, finely painted vessels. But among them, none feels as intimate, as haunting as this. an eye that once looked out upon the world through the face of a woman long gone. An eye that was crafted by human hands thousands of years before modern prosthetics were imagined. And so, as we walk the silent ruins of Shahr-e Sukhteh, with its crumbling walls and sun-baked earth, we are left to wonder what other innovations, what other mysteries lie buried still beneath the desert sands, waiting for the day when they too will open their eyes to us. From the scorched sands of Iran, where a single golden eye stared silently through 5 millennia, our journey now carries us further east to the fertile Indus River Valley. Here, in modern-day Pakistan, lies one of the world's earliest great cities, Mohenjo-Daro, a place whose very name means Mound of the Dead. At first sight, its ruins appear as orderly grids of mud brick walls and streets, evidence of remarkable urban planning. Mohenjo-Daro, built around 2500 BCE, was the crown jewel of the Indus Valley civilization, rivaling Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt in sophistication. Archaeologists have marveled at its drainage systems, its standardized weights and measures, and the sheer scale of a city that may have once been home to over 40,000 people. And yet, within this seemingly well-organized and prosperous settlement, there lingers a darker enigma. For scattered across the site, archaeologists found something unsettling. Human remains, men, women, and children, lying as if they had fallen suddenly in the streets. Unlike the orderly burials found elsewhere, these skeletons seemed caught in a moment of catastrophe. Some lay face down, arms outstretched. Others clutched one another in death. And curiously, several of these remains showed traces of something even more disturbing: unusually high levels of radiation. This is where the mystery begins. To the mainstream scholar, the sudden decline of Mohenjo-Daro has long been debated. Some point to shifting rivers, which may have drowned fields or left the city without water. Others suggest disease, trade disruptions, or internal collapse. These are plausible, even likely. But for decades, fringe interpretations have circulated, whispers of something far stranger. Some researchers, studying reports of vitrified, melted stone and brick at the site, have drawn comparisons to the aftermath of nuclear explosions. In Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the heat of atomic fire fused stone and clay into glass. Could something similar have occurred here, thousands of years earlier? Could Mohenjo-Daro, a Bronze Age city, have been destroyed by a force that seems utterly out of place in its time? The skeletons are often at the center of this debate. According to claims popularized in the 20th century, many of them tested for radiation levels far beyond what would be expected. The suggestion was staggering. Had Mohenjo-Daro suffered a cataclysm akin to a nuclear blast? Of course, mainstream archaeologists urge caution. They point out that much of the evidence for high radiation has been misreported, or at best, misinterpreted. Later analyses have failed to replicate such dramatic findings. And yet, the story persists, fueled by anomalies that seem to defy simple answers. Why were so many bodies left unburied? Why did destruction seem to strike so suddenly, leaving no signs of conquest, no weapons, no armies? Even the city itself holds strange echoes. The layout of Mohenjo-Daro, with its gridded streets and advanced water systems, seems almost modern in design. Was this a society experimenting with technologies or practices we do not fully understand? Or are we simply projecting our own imagination onto ruins that, after 4,000 years, have lost their context? Fringe theorists have linked these mysteries to ancient texts from India, particularly the Mahabharata. This vast Sanskrit epic, written centuries after Mohenjo-Daro's decline, speaks of divine weapons of unimaginable power, blazing projectiles, scorching heat, and destruction likened to 1,000 suns. Some see in these descriptions poetic memory of real, catastrophic events. Could it be that Mohenjo-Daro was destroyed not by river shifts or disease, but by a weapon whose technology we cannot begin to explain? Others argue differently. They suggest that what we see at Mohenjo-Daro may be evidence of a natural disaster, an earthquake, a sudden flood, or even a lightning strike that caused fire and destruction. Extreme heat could have come from such events, producing effects that resemble vitrification. Radiation levels, if truly elevated, might be explained by natural deposits of radioactive minerals in the region. And yet, the unease remains. The skeletons, the sudden collapse, the unexplained heat marks. These elements resist easy categorization. In archaeology, the absence of evidence is often filled by speculation. At Mohenjo-Daro, that speculation walks the line between science and myth, between sober inquiry and haunting possibility. What makes this mystery so enduring is not only the physical evidence, but the symbolism. Mohenjo-Daro is one of the earliest known cradles of civilization. To imagine that such a place could have fallen to a force resembling nuclear devastation unsettles our understanding of history. It suggests either that we are profoundly misreading the evidence, or that our ancestors may have witnessed events far more complex than we have yet realized. Even today, walking among its silent streets, the atmosphere is uncanny. The city feels strangely modern in its design, yet undeniably ancient in its ruin. Its walls, weathered by time, seem to hold memories that words cannot reach. Each broken stair, each collapsed archway, is a fragment of a story we have not yet pieced together. Was Mohenjo-Daro destroyed by the slow hand of nature, by shifts in the river and the fragility of early urban life? Or was it struck by a sudden, violent catastrophe that left survivors too few or too traumatized to rebuild? And if the latter, what force was powerful enough to erase a thriving city in an instant? The ruins offer no clear answer. They leave us standing in the dust, staring at what might have been the site of a Bronze Age metropolis, felled not by time but by something that challenges the very boundaries of what we believe possible. As we continue our journey through archaeology's unsolved riddles, Mohenjo-Daro reminds us of a sobering truth. Sometimes the past does not whisper. It shouts in echoes we still struggle to comprehend. And so, we are left to wonder. In this ancient city of the Indus Valley, buried beneath centuries of silence, does there still lie hidden a chapter of human history we have yet to understand? From the sun-scorched plains of the Indus Valley, where a once great city fell beneath forces still debated, our path now turns northward, into the high Himalayas. Here, in the Indian state of Uttarakhand, the air grows thin. The peaks loom jagged and white, and silence dominates the landscape. At over 16,000 feet above sea level, nestled in a hollow surrounded by snow and rock, lies a small glacial lake. Its waters are dark, icy, and still. It is called Roopkund. At first glance, it seems an ordinary alpine lake, remote, beautiful, and forbidding. But when the snow melts in summer, Roopkund reveals a sight that chills even the most hardened traveler. Scattered along its edges, and sometimes visible beneath the clear waters themselves, are hundreds of human skeletons. Men, women, and children, their bones preserved for centuries by ice and altitude, their story lost to time. The discovery of Roopkund's skeletons is not recent. Local legends speak of the lake as cursed, a place of death where intruders would meet their end. In the 1940s, a British forest ranger documented the remains more formally, and word of the skeleton lake spread to the wider world. Since then, scientists, archaeologists, and historians have sought to unravel the mystery of who these people were and how they came to die in such an isolated place. The evidence is perplexing. Estimates of the number of individuals range from 200 to 800, though not all are visible at once. Carbon dating places their deaths at different points in history, some as far back as the 9th century, others as late as the 19th. Genetic testing reveals that they were not a single group, but rather a mix of populations. Some carried South Asian ancestry, consistent with local communities. Others, surprisingly, appear to have been of Mediterranean origin, perhaps migrants, traders, or pilgrims from lands far across the seas. Why would such a diverse group converge at this remote Himalayan lake? One theory points to pilgrimage. Even today, the Nanda Devi Rajjat, a sacred journey honoring the goddess Nanda Devi, passes near Roopkund every 12 years. It is possible that ancient pilgrims, traversing treacherous mountain passes, were caught here by disaster. But if so, what kind of disaster could leave hundreds dead, their remains strewn across the lake? Early speculation imagined war or ritual sacrifice, but no weapons were found, and the bones do not show signs of combat. Instead, forensic examination has revealed something unusual. Many of the skulls bear deep circular fractures. The pattern is consistent not with battle wounds, but with blunt force trauma, injuries inflicted from above. Scientists now believe that the people of Roopkund may have been killed by a sudden, violent hailstorm. Imagine it, a group of travelers, weary from climbing, encamped by the lake. The sky darkens, winds rise, and then hailstones, massive and deadly, begin to fall. With no shelter, no trees, no caves in sight, they are struck down where they stand. Their bodies, trapped by snow and ice, remain preserved for centuries until revealed by the summer thaw. It is a haunting explanation, and yet not all the questions are answered. The diversity of the skeletons, spanning centuries with individuals of different ancestry, suggests that Roopkund was not the site of a single tragic event, but rather a place where death struck more than once. Pilgrims returning at intervals? Separate groups meeting similar fates? Or could the lake itself, ringed by steep ridges, be a natural trap for travelers unlucky enough to be caught in sudden storms? Beyond scientific explanation, Roopkund continues to stir myth and legend. Local folklore speaks of King Jasdeval of Kannauj, who once traveled with his queen and entourage to honor the goddess Nanda Devi. The king's arrogance, the story goes, angered the goddess, who rained death upon the group with stones from the sky. Could this myth, preserved in oral tradition, echo the real event of a hailstorm centuries ago? Fringe theories reach further still. Some suggest the Mediterranean individuals were lost Roman soldiers, wandering far from their empire's borders. Others propose they were traders on ancient routes connecting India to the wider world, though the altitude makes such a path unlikely. More imaginative interpretations suggest the skeletons are evidence of forgotten migrations, or even link them to unexplained phenomena, natural or otherwise, that remain beyond our grasp. Standing at the edge of Roopkund, one cannot help but feel the weight of its silence. The lake is small, barely 40 meters across, yet it holds the remains of hundreds of human lives. Each skeleton is a frozen moment, a story without an ending. Who were these people? What drew them here? And what final thoughts passed through their minds as the storm descended? The enigma of Roopkund is not merely scientific, it is human. It reminds us that history is not only written in monuments and artifacts, but in tragedies, in journeys cut short, in lives swallowed by the elements. Despite DNA studies, radiocarbon dating, and forensic analysis, the lake refuses to yield a single, neat answer. Instead, it presents layers of mystery, multiple groups, multiple centuries, and a death that came suddenly, violently, and without mercy. As the snow covers the lake once more, the skeletons disappear beneath its icy surface, hidden until the next summer thaw. And so, the questions remain. Was Roopkund simply a tragic resting place for pilgrims overtaken by nature's fury? Or does it represent something deeper, a convergence of people, cultures, and mysteries that defy the limits of our current understanding? The Himalayas hold many secrets in their vast and silent heights, and at Roopkund, in the shadow of towering peaks, the dead still keep theirs. From the icy silence of the Himalayas, where skeletons rest in frozen water, our journey now carries us far across oceans to the lush lowlands of Veracruz, Mexico. Here the air is warm, heavy with humidity, and the land is alive with dense forests and the hum of insects. Rising unexpectedly from this green expanse are the ruins of El Tajín, once a thriving ceremonial city, now a place of quiet stone and shadow. Among its temples and ball courts stands one structure unlike any other in the ancient world, the Pyramid of the Niches. At first sight, it seems almost modest in scale compared to the towering pyramids of Teotihuacan or the massive temples of the Maya. Only about 60 feet high, the pyramid is dwarfed by other Mesoamerican monuments. But step closer, and its mystery becomes clear. Across its 6 receding tiers are carved exactly 365 niches, small rectangular recesses like windows cut into the body of the stone. Dark, deep, and precise, they give the pyramid an otherworldly presence, as if each hollow once held a secret flame or whispered a silent prayer. Archaeologists have long debated the meaning of these niches. Their number is unmistakable: 365, the count of days in a solar year. Was this pyramid a calendar in stone? A massive ritual device for tracking the passage of time? Or was it something more, an astronomical instrument, a sacred monument aligning the cycles of the heavens with the lives of those who built it? El Tajín itself was at its height between the 9th and 12th centuries CE. It flourished as a powerful city, known for its elaborate ball courts and distinctive architectural style. Yet, the Pyramid of the Niches remains its most enigmatic creation. The niches were not mere decorations. Their depths, carefully angled, create dramatic patterns of light and shadow as the sun moves across the sky. At dawn and dusk, the pyramid seems to breathe with shifting darkness, as if it were alive with the pulse of time itself. Some scholars believe the niches once held offerings, candles, torches, or idols placed within each recess to mark the days of the year. Imagine the pyramid illuminated at night, each niche glowing like a star in the firmament, transforming stone into a terrestrial sky. If so, then the structure may have been not only a calendar, but also a living ritual space, where the city's priests conducted ceremonies that tied human life to the cosmic order. But even this does not fully explain its design. Why build such a precise monument, so carefully attuned to the solar cycle, in a city whose culture left behind no written record to guide us? What drove the people of El Tajín to carve this stone calendar into the shape of a pyramid? An enduring fusion of architecture, timekeeping, and spirituality. Mainstream archaeology offers some answers. Across Mesoamerica, we see evidence of cultures deeply invested in astronomy. The Maya calculated the movements of Venus with astonishing precision. The builders of Teotihuacan aligned their city to celestial events. Perhaps the Pyramid of the Niches was El Tajín's contribution to this grand tradition, a temple that embodied the rhythm of the heavens. And yet, anomalies remain. Some researchers note that the pyramid's design creates peculiar acoustic effects, its tiers and hollows reflecting sound in strange ways. Others point to the precision of its construction, suggesting knowledge of geometry and astronomy more advanced than we typically attribute to the culture of El Tajín. Still others wonder whether the pyramid was part of a larger, now lost system of monuments. Its niches a code, its form a message that we have yet to decipher. Then there are the more speculative ideas. Could the pyramid have served as a kind of solar observatory, with the play of light and shadow marking not only days, but solstices and equinoxes? Was it a place where time was not simply measured but invoked, where rituals sought to harmonize the earthly with the cosmic? Some fringe theorists even suggest connections beyond Mesoamerica, drawing parallels between the Pyramid of the Niches and monuments in other parts of the world that encode astronomical cycles in stone. Is this mere coincidence, a reflection of humanity's universal fascination with the sky? Or could it hint at ancient knowledge shared across cultures, carried along forgotten routes of contact and exchange? Walking among the ruins today, the atmosphere is haunting. The city of El Tajín, once bustling with life, now stands silent, its pyramid weathered by centuries of rain and jungle. The niches are empty, their purpose obscured by time, and yet the structure remains whole, its symmetry, its mathematics, its mystery still intact. What strikes many visitors is how alive the pyramid feels. Each niche, dark and hollow, seems like an eye gazing outward. Together they form a pattern that is almost hypnotic, an architecture of absence, where emptiness itself becomes meaning. Was this intentional? Did the builders seek to create not only a monument to time, but also a monument to mystery? El Tajin's decline came swiftly and is itself poorly understood. By the 13th century, the city was largely abandoned. Nature reclaimed the site, its temples buried beneath vegetation until rediscovered in modern times. And with that abandonment, the knowledge of the pyramid's true purpose was lost. So we are left with questions. Was the Pyramid of the Niches simply a calendar in stone, marking the passage of days for a people attuned to the cycles of the sun? Was it a temple, where rituals bound human life to celestial order? Or was it something greater still, an attempt to encode cosmic truths in architecture, to make the heavens tangible on earth? The jungle has kept its secrets well. The niches remain empty, the stone silent. Yet standing before the pyramid, one cannot help but feel that something profound lingers in its shadow. A reminder that the ancients not only built with stone, but with meaning, layered, mysterious, and perhaps still beyond our reach. And so we must ask, what did the builders of El Tajín know about time, about the cosmos, about the sacred patterns of the universe, and what have we yet to learn from the hollow, watching eyes of the Pyramid of the Niches? From the tropical warmth of Veracruz and the mysterious niches of El Tajín, our journey now sweeps across continents and oceans to the rolling green hills of Ireland. In the Boyne Valley, near the River Boyne, lies one of the most enigmatic monuments of prehistoric Europe, Newgrange. On first sight, it seems almost modest, a mound of earth and stone rising gently from the landscape, encircled by ancient curbstones carved with swirling motifs. Yet, within this unassuming hill, lies a mystery that has captivated archaeologists, historians, and visitors for centuries. Newgrange is a passage tomb, built more than 5,000 years ago, making it older than Stonehenge and the Great Pyramids of Giza. Its earthen mound stretches over 80 meters across and rises over 12 meters high, but the true marvel is hidden inside. A narrow passageway, carefully aligned with the rising sun, leads to a central chamber. This chamber is constructed with massive stones, some weighing several tons, arranged with extraordinary precision. And every year during the winter solstice, something extraordinary occurs. The first light of dawn penetrates the passageway, illuminating the inner chamber for a brief, magical moment. The alignment is perfect. For a few minutes, sunlight floods the chamber, casting a glow over the megalithic stones, revealing patterns and carvings that have survived millennia. How did Neolithic builders, without telescopes or modern surveying tools, achieve such precision? And why? Was this alignment purely ceremonial, marking the rebirth of the sun at the winter solstice? Or did it hold deeper significance, perhaps a symbolic passage between life, death, and renewal. Archaeologists have excavated Newgrange carefully, uncovering bones, pottery, and tools within the chamber, confirming its function as a tomb. Carbon dating suggests the mound was built around 3200 BCE, a period of remarkable creativity across Europe. Yet, despite the clarity of its purpose as a burial site, many questions remain. The mound itself is enormous for a small Neolithic community. It required an extraordinary labor force and intimate knowledge of engineering, astronomy, and stonework. How did these people, seemingly isolated from other great civilizations, coordinate such a feat? The art carved into the curbstones and inner stones adds to the enigma. Spirals, lozenges, and concentric circles dominate the surfaces, etched deeply into the rock. Some researchers see these as symbolic representations of the sun or the cycle of life. Others suggest they encode knowledge, a proto-language, or even ritual instructions. Yet no definitive translation exists. The carving's meaning has been lost to time, leaving us to interpret through analogy, imagination, and pattern recognition. Then there is the broader landscape. Newgrange is part of a larger complex of passage tombs, including Noth and Douth, forming a network that may have served both ceremonial and astronomical purposes. Some scholars propose that this network reflects an understanding of lunar cycles, solstices, and equinoxes, suggesting a sophisticated comprehension of celestial mechanics. But if so, why do so many of the carvings and alignments remain so cryptic? Was knowledge intentionally obscured, shared only with initiates of a priestly class? Or have we simply lost the key to understanding their cosmology? Speculative theories abound. Some suggest that Newgrange was not merely a tomb, but a site of initiation, where select individuals experienced a symbolic journey from darkness into light, mirroring the sun's rebirth. Others propose that the megalith's resonance within the chamber could have been used for sound-based rituals, the low vibrations amplifying chants or incantations. Could Neolithic people have combined astronomy, architecture, and acoustics in ways we are only beginning to grasp? Even fringe theories find fertile ground here. Comparisons are often made with pyramids and megalithic structures elsewhere in the world, pointing to the global fascination with the sun, the cosmos, and monumental stone construction. Were these developments entirely independent, or is there evidence of a shared human impulse toward aligning life with celestial rhythms? While mainstream archaeology refrains from definitive claims, the parallels are striking and invite contemplation. Walking the mound today, one is struck by a sense of timelessness. The grassy slope, the low hum of wind, and the winter sun casting long shadows over the curbstones combine to create a living monument, one that seems to exist outside of linear time. Visitors often speak of a subtle sensation, as if the tomb itself exerts a quiet force, drawing the eye toward the passageway, toward the light. The effect is both emotional and intellectual, a testament to the enduring power of design and intention. The winter solstice remains a spectacle, drawing crowds from around the world, yet it also reinforces the mystery. Thousands of years separated us from the builders, yet their understanding of celestial mechanics is undeniable. How did they calculate the solstice so precisely? What instruments or observations guided them? And more profoundly, what did the experience mean to those who first constructed and entered the tomb? In the end, Newgrange is both a question and a statement. It speaks of mortality, cosmology, and human ingenuity, yet it leaves much unsaid. Its passageway is a portal not only to a tomb, but to contemplation, reminding us that our ancestors wrestled with the same fundamental questions we continue to ask, about time, about life and death, about the cycles of nature and our place within them. As the winter sun rises over the Boyne Valley, illuminating the mound's ancient stones, we are left with a sense of reverence and wonder. Newgrange endures as it has for over 5 millennia, a silent witness to human ambition and belief, its secrets only partially revealed. And so, the question remains, what did the builders of Newgrange truly know, and what remains hidden in the shadows of this passage tomb, waiting for us to discover or to imagine its full meaning? From the misty green hills of Ireland, where ancient stones align with the winter sun, our journey now moves westward, across the Atlantic, past mountains and deserts, to the arid expanse of southeastern California. In the Colorado Desert, near the town of Blythe, the sand and gravel stretches flat under an endless sky, the sun glaring from dawn to dusk. Amid this harsh, unforgiving landscape lies a hidden marvel, large, intricate figures etched into the earth itself, visible only from above. These are the Blythe Intaglios. At first glance, they seem impossible. Figures hundreds of feet long, drawn with such precision and scale that their full form can only be appreciated from the air. Human figures, animals, geometric shapes, some stretching over 200 feet. Their outlines dug into the desert floor by removing the dark surface stones to reveal the lighter earth beneath. They are enormous, enigmatic, and remarkably well preserved given the unforgiving environment. The first recorded sightings by modern eyes occurred in the 1930s when aerial surveys revealed these massive designs, though Native American traditions had long known of their existence. Archaeologists attribute their creation to the Quechan, or Mojave people, or perhaps their ancestors, dating them anywhere from 450 to over 2,000 years ago. Yet, despite this, many questions persist. Why were these figures created? What purpose did they serve? And how could a society without aerial perspective design such large, perfectly proportioned images? Mainstream theories suggest ritualistic or ceremonial purposes. Perhaps they were markers for celestial events, spiritual guides, or symbols used in religious ceremonies. Some human figures appear to hold staffs or ceremonial implements, suggesting leaders, shamans, or deities. Animal figures, mammoths, snakes, and birds may represent totems or aspects of the natural world, binding humans to the forces that governed their environment. But even with these interpretations, much remains conjecture. The desert gives no voice, and time has claimed the stories that once explained these creations. The method of construction is simple, yet astonishing in execution. Workers would remove the darker stones of the desert surface, exposing the lighter soil beneath. This created a contrast strong enough to endure centuries of wind and rain. But the challenge is not the method, it is the scale. How did these societies ensure proportions remained accurate over hundreds of feet? Without aerial views, without measuring instruments akin to today's tools, the precision remains extraordinary. Did they use ropes, sight lines, and careful observation from nearby hills? Or was their knowledge lost to time, an understanding of perspective and geometry we can barely imagine? Some researchers have explored the possibility that these intaglios were meant to be seen by supernatural beings, spirits, or gods from the sky. If so, the designs may have functioned as messages, prayers, or offerings to forces beyond human reach. Others suggest that the human figures might depict mythical events, legendary ancestors, or even encounters that shaped cultural memory. And then there is the question of the figure's orientation. Many face specific directions, aligned with mountains, rivers, or cardinal points. Was this intentional, a sophisticated form of sacred geography, or mere coincidence? Speculative theories push the boundaries even further. Some observers have likened the scale and design to aerial markings, imagining they were constructed for unknown sky-faring beings or as signals for travelers from above, a notion that strays into fringe territory, yet captures the imagination in ways that conventional explanations cannot. Could there have been knowledge of the landscape and the cosmos intertwined in these designs, a kind of art that communicated both visually and spiritually? Despite extensive study, new questions arise with every generation. Radiocarbon dating and comparative studies place the Intaglios within a broad historical context, yet the cultural significance remains elusive. Unlike petroglyphs or smaller carvings, the Blythe Intaglios cannot be experienced fully from the ground. They demand perspective, a viewpoint humans could not physically occupy in their original time. Does this imply that the creators had a symbolic understanding of scale and perspective beyond our current comprehension? Walking across the desert near the Intaglios today, one can sense both their magnitude and their silence. The earth is quiet, broken only by the wind, yet the figures seem to watch, frozen in their eternal positions. Some researchers suggest that ritual pathways led pilgrims to the edges of these forms, guiding ceremonies or marking spiritual journeys. Yet no physical evidence survives of such pathways. And so, the designs remain isolated, monumental statements whose meaning is locked within the sands. The Blythe Intaglios, like many ancient mysteries, defy full understanding. They hint at sophisticated observation, deep spirituality, and a relationship with the land and sky that modern humans struggle to grasp. Were they markers of power, sacred messages, or symbolic maps of belief? Were they intended to teach, to inspire, or simply to endure? And perhaps the greatest enigma of all is this: these designs have survived for centuries in a harsh desert environment, enduring wind, sun, and occasional flooding. They demand attention, yet give no explanation. They are silent witnesses, etched into the earth, challenging us to imagine the minds, the hands, and the culture that created them. As the sun sets over the Colorado desert, casting long shadows across the enormous figures, we are reminded once more that human history is filled with whispers of the extraordinary, achievements and intentions that remain just beyond our understanding. The Blythe Intaglios endure not only as remarkable feats of ancient engineering, but as open questions, inviting us to ponder the mysteries of culture, vision, and creativity long vanished from the deserts of California. And so, standing among these monumental figures, one cannot help but wonder, what inspired these designs? Who first traced them into the earth? And what secrets still lie hidden in the deserts, waiting to reveal themselves to those who come seeking answers? From the sun-scorched deserts of California, where colossal figures are etched into the earth, our journey now carries us across oceans once more, to the arid lands of southern Egypt. Here, the Nile spreads wide, but beyond its fertile banks lies a landscape of bone-dry sands and rocky plateaus. It is among these desolate expanses, near the village of Nazlet, Khater, that one of the most enigmatic human remains ever discovered was unearthed, a skeleton that challenges our understanding of early Homo sapiens in Africa, the Nazlet Khater skeleton. The discovery occurred in the 1980s, during an excavation focused on late Paleolithic and Epipaleolithic sites along the Nile's western deserts. Archaeologists uncovered a burial containing a nearly complete skeleton of an adult male, remarkable not only for its preservation, but for its anatomical features. Standing taller than most contemporaneous humans of his era, with broad shoulders and a robust build, the skeleton appeared strikingly distinct. His skull and facial bones suggested a morphology that deviated from other known African populations at the time, raising questions about human diversity and migration tens of thousands of years ago. The dating of Nazlet Khater places the individual roughly 33,000 years in the past, during a period of intense climatic fluctuation. Humans were spreading across continents, adapting to varying landscapes and climates. Yet what makes this skeleton extraordinary is not simply its age. It is what it hints at regarding population diversity and cultural sophistication during a time we often imagine as primitive. Mainstream interpretations describe him as a member of an archaic Homo sapiens population, possibly a transitional form bridging earlier African lineages and modern humans. Some features, including his unusually tall stature and distinctive cranial structure, suggest that the region may have been home to populations with physical traits not widely represented elsewhere. This discovery has profound implications for understanding the complex mosaic of early human evolution in North Africa, a landscape of interaction, migration, and adaptation. Yet beyond scientific explanations, the skeleton invites deeper questions. Why does this individual stand out so sharply among other remains of the period? Was he simply part of a rare lineage, or could his unique features reflect previously unrecognized diversity within Homo sapiens? How does he fit into the broader narrative of human migration across Africa and into the Levant, Europe, and beyond? Some researchers point to the burial itself as a clue to cultural sophistication. The skeleton was laid carefully, with evidence of deliberate positioning, suggesting that those who buried him possessed ritualistic or symbolic practices. Were these early humans already thinking in terms of memory, identity, and respect for the dead? Or does the burial merely reflect practical considerations without deeper spiritual significance? Speculative interpretations, while controversial, have captured the imagination of many. Some suggest that Nazlet Khater represents an outlier population, perhaps a group with genetic traits later absorbed into other human lineages. Others have posited that the unusual features of his skull hint at contact between distinct populations previously thought isolated, raising questions about early human connectivity. Could the Nile Valley have served not only as a corridor for resources, but as a crossroads for human diversity, linking distant communities in ways we have yet to fully comprehend? The skeleton also invites us to consider the scale of human variation in prehistory. Modern humans of the Paleolithic era are often portrayed as relatively uniform, yet Nazlet Khater stands as evidence to the contrary. He challenges assumptions, reminding us that human evolution was rarely linear or simple. It was, instead, a tapestry of populations, environments, and adaptations, some converging, some isolated, some leaving traces that endure only in bone. Walking among the desert sands near Nazlet Khater today, one feels the vastness of time and space. The landscape is harsh, yet life persisted here for millennia. The Nile provided sustenance, but survival demanded ingenuity, resilience, and community. And among the dunes and rocky outcrops, this single skeleton speaks silently, bridging tens of thousands of years, offering a glimpse into a life lived long before recorded history. Even now, decades after its discovery, the Nazlet Khater skeleton continues to provoke debate. Some studies focus on cranial morphology, others on postcranial anatomy, yet no consensus fully explains the uniqueness of this individual. Was he an isolated anomaly, a representative of a forgotten lineage, or evidence of broader patterns yet to be revealed? Each hypothesis brings its own implications, none completely resolving the mystery. The intrigue of Nazlet Khater lies not only in the skeleton itself, but in what it represents, the persistence of questions where answers remain elusive. He is a reminder that the story of human evolution is far from complete, that every discovery, no matter how small, can shift our understanding of who we are and where we come from. As the Egyptian desert stretches to the horizon, the sands whisper of lives long past, of communities whose stories were never written but are etched in bone and stone. Nazlet Khater, silent yet monumental, remains a bridge to that forgotten world, inviting us to imagine a human past far richer, stranger, and more complex than our textbooks can contain. And so we are left with the enduring question: who was this man standing tall in the deserts of Upper Egypt tens of thousands of years ago? And what does he reveal about the diversity, adaptability, and mystery of early humanity, truths that science has yet to fully uncover? From the sun-baked deserts of Upper Egypt, where a lone skeleton whispers secrets of human diversity tens of thousands of years ago, our journey now turns to the Mediterranean, to a small island steeped in antiquity, Malta. Here, amidst rolling limestone hills and the blue expanse of the sea, lies a subterranean marvel that challenges our understanding of prehistoric architecture and ritual, the Hypogeum of Ħal-Saflieni. At first glance, nothing hints at the extraordinary depths hidden beneath the modern streets of Paola. But beneath the surface, carved entirely from the island's soft limestone, lies a labyrinth of chambers, corridors, and recesses, 3 stories deep, descending some 30 meters into the earth. The Hypogeum, dating back to around 3,300 to 3000 BCE, is older than the pyramids of Giza, older than Stonehenge. And yet, unlike those monumental structures, it is not built to reach the sky, but to delve into the depths, into a world of shadow, echo, and silence. Visitors descending into its passages feel an almost palpable weight, a sense of timelessness and reverence. The walls are smooth, their curves deliberate, polished by unknown hands. Niches carved into the stone once held human remains, and at the far end, a central chamber known as the Oracle Room captures attention for an entirely different reason: its acoustics. A whisper spoken in the farthest corner resonates throughout the chamber, a natural amplification that seems almost otherworldly. How could Neolithic people, without modern knowledge of sound engineering, have created a space so precise that its architecture itself becomes a medium for voice and ritual? Archaeologists have studied the Hypogeum for decades. Excavations have uncovered thousands of human remains, carefully interred over centuries, along with pottery, figurines, and other artifacts that hint at ritual practices. The site appears to have functioned both as a burial place and a ceremonial center, a place where the living and the dead intersected in profound ways. Yet many questions remain. Why was the Hypogeum carved underground when above-ground temples were already common in Malta? What guided the builder's decisions in carving its complex layout, its spiral passages, and the chambers that seem to echo like a vast stone instrument? Some theories suggest that the Hypogeum was designed to serve as a sacred conduit, linking the earthly world to the spiritual realm. The acoustic properties of the Oracle Room, for example, could have been used in ritualistic chanting, with sound believed to carry prayers or visions to unseen forces. Could these sounds have also induced altered states of consciousness, guiding participants through experiences that blended the sacred and the psychological? If so, the Hypogeum was not merely a tomb, but a theater of the mind, a space where architecture and human perception were intertwined in ways we are only beginning to understand. Speculation extends further. Some researchers have pointed out alignments within the chambers, noting that certain corridors are oriented toward celestial events, suggesting that the builders may have tracked solstices or equinoxes underground. Could the Hypogeum have functioned as a calendar, a ritual observatory hidden beneath the earth, marking cycles of life, death, and renewal in secret darkness? And if so, why hide such knowledge beneath layers of stone rather than enshrining it above ground, as other contemporary cultures did? Even the human remains themselves pose mysteries. Analysis indicates a diversity of ages and sometimes unusual burial practices, hinting at complex social or spiritual hierarchies. Some bones show evidence of careful placement, almost as if the dead were arranged to participate in an ongoing ritual. Could the Hypogeum have been a place where memory and ancestry were honored with a precision and intention unmatched in other Neolithic sites? Fringe theories take the enigma even further. Some have proposed that the Hypogeum's construction required knowledge or techniques that seem extraordinary for its time, a deep understanding of acoustics, architecture, and perhaps even astronomy. Could this knowledge have been passed through generations in ways now lost? Did the builders possess insights into the interaction of space, sound, and human perception that modern science only now begins to rediscover? Walking through its silent corridors today, one is struck by a sense of intimacy and awe. The Hypogeum feels alive with the past. Every curve of limestone, every niche and chamber is a testament to the ingenuity, care, and spiritual ambition of its builders. It is at once a place of mourning and a place of wonder, a subterranean cathedral where stone holds memory and where silence is laden with the weight of thousands of years. The site's very preservation amplifies its mystery. Encased underground, shielded from wind and rain, the Hypogeum has survived almost intact, allowing modern visitors to experience a direct connection with a people long vanished. And yet, despite centuries of study, much of its purpose remains obscured. Was it a temple of the dead, a sanctuary of sound, a place of initiation, or all of these things at once? And what drove a society so ancient to devote decades of labor to carving a monument beneath the earth rather than above it? As the soft light fades in its narrow corridors, one can almost hear the whispers of ritual chants, the steps of long-departed pilgrims, the silent prayers of those interred within. The Hypogeum of Ħal-Saflieni is a place where the physical and spiritual worlds seem to converge, where the boundaries of architecture, ritual, and human imagination blur. And so, we are left with questions that echo in the underground chambers. How did these ancient builders achieve such precision and purpose? What beliefs guided them in crafting a space that still resonates millennia later? And what secrets, buried in shadow and stone, remain hidden in Malta's subterranean labyrinth waiting for us to discover their meaning? From the subterranean depths of Malta, where carved limestone cradles the echoes of ritual and reverence, our journey now carries us across oceans and hemispheres to the Pacific, to a chain of tiny islands scattered across turquoise waters. Here, in the state of Pohnpei, within the federated states of Micronesia, lie the ruins of a city unlike any other, Madol, often called the Venice of the Pacific. At first sight, the site appears fragmented, a scattering of stone platforms rising from a shallow lagoon. Yet as the tide of understanding ebbs and flows, the enormity of what was achieved becomes clear. Madol is composed of nearly 100 artificial islets, connected by narrow canals, forming a complex network of ceremonial and administrative spaces. The structures, constructed of massive basalt columns, some weighing several tons, are stacked with astonishing precision, creating walls and platforms that have endured centuries of tropical storms and rising tides. Madol was the ceremonial and political heart of the Shahr-e dynasty, which ruled Pohnpei from around 1200 CE to 1628 CE. Yet, despite centuries of research, the city's origins, methods of construction, and societal organization remain shrouded in mystery. How did a society without draft animals or wheeled vehicles transport and place these enormous stones across water and unstable reef? The sheer logistical achievement challenges modern engineering assumptions, leaving scholars and visitors alike in awe. Mainstream theories suggest that the builders used ingenuity, rafts, and levers, perhaps exploiting tidal shifts to maneuver the basalt blocks. Oral traditions describe the first Shahr-e ruler, Olisipa, as a figure of divine power who arrived from foreign lands and initiated the construction of Madol. Could legend contain kernels of truth about early migrations, skilled labor, or ritualized authority that shaped the city's development? The layout of Madol deepens the enigma. Some islets appear residential, while others were dedicated to ceremonial functions or burial. The royal tombs, carefully constructed from basalt, suggest an elite class capable of commanding vast labor resources. Yet the precise planning of canals, platforms, and temples hints at knowledge of hydraulics, geology, and possibly astronomy. Were the Saudalur architects simply extraordinarily practical, or did they encode symbolic meaning into every stone, every channel, and every alignment? The scale of non-Madol, combined with the remoteness of Pohnpei, has fueled speculation and wonder. Some have suggested that the city was deliberately designed as a labyrinthine stronghold, a demonstration of power that simultaneously awed and intimidated its subjects. Others have proposed a more mystical interpretation, that the islets served as a sacred microcosm of the universe, an earthly reflection of divine order, linking rulers and ancestors with celestial and marine cycles. Fringe interpretations stretch even further. Legends speak of Olisipa arriving with supernatural assistance, or that the massive stones were levitated through unknown forces. While such tales may reside more in mythology than history, they underscore the awe Nan Madol inspires, hinting at a past where human imagination and achievement intersected in ways modern observers can scarcely replicate. Archaeological studies reveal that Nan Madol was not a static city. Layers of sediment, coral, and basalt indicate periods of construction, modification, and abandonment. The canals, though now mostly filled or overgrown, were once navigable, allowing small canoes to move between islets, a design that suggests both utility and ceremonial significance. Yet, no written records survive to explain the exact purpose of each islet, each platform, or the precise function of the canals. The city's rhythm, its daily life, and its spiritual practices remain largely invisible, leaving only stone and water as testimony. What is particularly striking is the harmony between construction and environment. The builders of Nan Madol chose a lagoon that is simultaneously fertile, navigable, and defensible. They integrated coral and basalt into artificial islets, creating a city that rises from the sea almost organically, yet with human intention. How did they understand the delicate interplay of tides, storms, and geological stability in an era without modern engineering knowledge? Could they have possessed an empirical understanding of their environment so advanced that it rivaled contemporary science in its own context? Even today, standing on one of the basalt platforms, the ocean lapping against the stones, one can feel both the ingenuity and the mystery of Nan Madol. The city feels alive, not merely as ruins, but as a monument to human ambition, imagination, and perhaps ritualized devotion. Every block, every canal, every islet whispers of a society whose complexity challenges the assumptions of historians and engineers alike. Yet, for all we can learn from excavation and study, the ultimate questions remain. How exactly were these enormous stones transported across water? What social and political mechanisms allowed such monumental coordination? And what of the culture that vanished, leaving behind only stone and story absorbed into legend and ocean? Nan Madol endures as a testament to human ingenuity, an extraordinary achievement whose full meaning remains just beyond our grasp. It reminds us that some mysteries are as fluid as the tides that lap against their foundations, visible, tangible, yet never fully comprehensible. And so, as the sun glints across the basalt islets and the Pacific stretches endlessly beyond, we are left to wonder, what drove the builders of Nan Madol to shape such a city, not merely for function or survival, but for ceremony, hierarchy, and legacy? What secrets, buried beneath centuries of water and stone, are waiting still to be discovered or understood? From the serene islets of Nan Madol, where stone rises from turquoise waters to form a city of mystery, our journey returns once more to Egypt, this time to the edge of the Fayum oasis. Here, beneath the blazing sun and the shifting sands, lie the whispered remains of one of antiquity's most extraordinary architectural enigmas, the lost labyrinth of Hawara. The labyrinth was first described by classical historians, who wrote of an immense structure, larger and more complex than any temple or pyramid of its time. Herodotus called it a wonder beyond words, claiming it contained thousands of rooms, both above and below ground, arranged in an intricate maze of corridors, halls, and stairways. Pliny the Elder later described it as a marvel that surpassed the pyramids themselves in ambition. And yet, today, little remains above the surface, leaving archaeologists and explorers to piece together its grandeur from fragments, ruins, and literary accounts. Built during the reign of Pharaoh Amenemhat III, around 1850 BCE, the labyrinth occupied the necropolis of Hawara, near the southern edge of the Hypogeum Depression. Its purpose remains a subject of debate. Was it purely a funerary complex intended to honor and protect the pharaoh's tomb, or did it also serve administrative, ceremonial, or even defensive functions? The sheer scale described by ancient texts, tens of thousands of rooms sprawling across the desert, suggests a civilization capable of planning and executing architectural feats rivaling the Great Pyramids. Archaeologists who have examined the site note the exceptional use of mud brick and limestone, expertly combined to create walls, passageways, and chambers that, even in ruin, convey the precision and vision of their builders. Traces of elaborate decorations and reliefs hint at walls adorned with depictions of gods, animals, and daily life, though most of this artistry has been lost to time. The labyrinth was not merely a structure. It was a symbolic universe, a reflection of cosmic order, human ingenuity, and ritualized power. Yet, despite centuries of study, the labyrinth retains its mystery. How was it constructed? How were such vast networks of corridors and chambers planned without the surveying tools of later civilizations? And perhaps most intriguing, why did it vanish almost entirely from the landscape, leaving only fragments to tease our understanding? Some suggest that centuries of flooding, human dismantling, and natural erosion erased the labyrinth from sight. Others speculate that it was deliberately deconstructed, its stones repurposed for later buildings, its secrets buried beneath layers of desert sand. Mainstream historians view the labyrinth as a monumental tomb complex, a resting place for the pharaoh and his court, designed to protect the dead and their treasures. The subterranean portions, they argue, may have included false chambers and secret passageways, intended to confuse intruders and safeguard the king's remains. Such measures reflect not only engineering skill, but a sophisticated understanding of human psychology, using architecture itself as a means of defense. Yet the labyrinth invites questions beyond practical purpose. Classical sources describe corridors so numerous that even those familiar with the structure could become disoriented. Rooms were filled with statues, halls with light and shadow that shifted with the sun, creating illusions and a sense of wonder. Could the labyrinth have served a ritualistic function as well? A ceremonial maze through which priests or visitors symbolically traveled, encountering representations of the cosmos, life, and death? Speculative theories expand the enigma further. Some suggest that the labyrinth was designed to mirror celestial patterns, aligning with stars or solar cycles in ways that might have conveyed spiritual or astronomical knowledge to those who entered. Others posit that the sheer ambition of the structure reflects a pharaoh's attempt to eternalize his reign, creating not just a tomb, but a monument to human intellect and divine favor. Could the labyrinth have encoded messages, knowledge, or rituals that modern scholars will never fully reconstruct? Explorers who have walked among the ruins speak of an uncanny sense of scale, even in its fragmentary state. The few surviving walls, partially excavated passageways, and scattered stones hint at vast spaces once filled with sound, movement, and ceremony. The desert wind carries a silence that almost hums with memory, a reminder that human ambition and ingenuity can leave traces that endure far beyond the span of individual lives. Even the subterranean passages, glimpsed through excavations and surveys amplify the mystery. Archaeologists have uncovered chambers and corridors that suggest a complex understanding of load-bearing architecture, drainage, and environmental adaptation. Some tunnels may have been deliberately designed to create echoes or manipulate light, transforming the experience of walking through the labyrinth into a psychological or spiritual journey. Were these features purely ceremonial, or did they also serve practical purposes? Ventilation, temperature control, or security? The lost labyrinth of Hawara stands as a testament to human creativity, ambition, and the urge to shape space in ways that transcend utility. It challenges assumptions about the limits of ancient engineering and architectural knowledge, leaving us to wonder how much was lost when time, erosion, and human activity dismantled what Herodotus described as a wonder beyond words. As the desert sun sets over the Fayum oasis, casting long shadows across the remaining stones, one can almost envision the labyrinth in its full glory. Endless corridors, hidden chambers, halls of grandeur, and the pharaoh's tomb at its heart. And yet, the true scale, the purpose, and the secrets of Hawara remain elusive. A reminder that even the most ambitious human achievements can slip quietly into history. And so, we are left with the enduring question: what was the labyrinth of Hawara truly meant to be? A tomb? A ceremonial center, a cosmic map, or something even more extraordinary? And what mysteries of ambition, ingenuity, and culture lie buried beneath the sands, waiting for the curious to rediscover them? From the shifting sands of Egypt, where the lost labyrinth of Hawara whispers secrets of kings and cosmic design, our journey now moves northward across the Mediterranean to the Italian Alps. Here, nestled in the steep valleys of Lombardy, lies a landscape etched with memory and mystery: the Valcamonica rock carvings. Stretching over 140 kilometers along the Oglio River and its tributaries, Valcamonica is home to one of the largest collections of prehistoric petroglyphs in the world, their surfaces bearing witness to thousands of years of human expression. Walking through the valley, one is immediately struck by the silent presence of the mountains, their jagged faces carved by millennia of wind, water, and human hands. Scattered across rocky outcrops are tens of thousands of images, figures, animals, weapons, symbols, and abstract shapes, each painstakingly etched into stone. The sheer scale of the collection is staggering. Some carvings date back as far as 8000 BCE, spanning the Neolithic, Bronze Age, and Iron Age, chronicling an almost continuous dialogue between humans and the landscape. The imagery itself is captivating in both its diversity and its precision. Hunters with bows, warriors with spears, ritual dances, geometric symbols, and enigmatic patterns populate the rock faces. Some carvings depict domesticated animals, scenes of daily life, or ceremonial gatherings, offering glimpses into societies long vanished. Others are more abstract: spirals, zigzags, and motifs that seem to follow no immediately recognizable pattern. Were these symbolic representations of spiritual beliefs, markers of territorial claims, or records of celestial events? Or could they encode knowledge we have yet to decipher, a prehistoric language of signs? Mainstream interpretations suggest that the carvings served multiple functions. As tools for ritual, storytelling, or social cohesion, they may have marked sacred spaces, recorded important events, or acted as visual calendars tied to seasonal changes. Certain symbols appear repeatedly across centuries, indicating continuity of cultural or spiritual ideas. Yet, despite extensive study, the carvings refuse to yield a single, unified explanation. Why did these ancient peoples devote such effort to etching stone surfaces so extensively, often in locations accessible only by climbing steep rock faces? Some scholars have explored potential astronomical connections. Certain patterns may align with the movements of the sun, moon, or stars, suggesting that the carvings could have served as guides to the heavens or instruments for tracking time. Could the abstract symbols represent celestial events, cycles of fertility, or calendrical calculations now lost to memory? If so, Valcamonica is more than an artistic record. It is a prehistoric observatory, a space where humans sought to understand their place in the cosmos. Speculative theories push the mystery further. Some researchers have suggested that the carvings encode esoteric knowledge, perhaps intended only for initiates or shamans. Others point to similarities between Valcamonica motifs and rock art found in distant regions, raising tantalizing questions about cultural diffusion, shared symbolism, or universal archetypes of human expression. Could these carvings reflect a knowledge network that spanned far beyond the Italian Alps, or do they simply reveal the universality of human imagination confronting the natural world? The methods used to create these petroglyphs are themselves remarkable. Ancient tools, stone chisels, hammers, or bone implements were used to remove the rock's surface with meticulous care. Some carvings are deeply incised, enduring millennia of weathering, while others are subtle, their outlines faint but still visible to the attentive eye. The dedication and skill required speak of societies that placed extraordinary value on visual communication, ritual, or memory. Walking among the carvings today, it is possible to sense the presence of countless generations, each adding its mark to the enduring canvas of stone. The valley becomes a silent gallery, its walls echoing the rhythm of human life, belief, and interaction with nature. One can almost imagine the hands of prehistoric artists, painstakingly etching their visions, aware that they were creating something meant to last for centuries, if not millennia. Yet, the more we study Valcamonica, the more questions emerge. Are we fully interpreting these symbols through the lens of our own assumptions, or are we missing layers of meaning encoded in ways we cannot perceive? Do the abstract motifs convey ideas about cosmology, spirituality, or social structure that remain inaccessible to modern understanding? And how much of the carving's original context, the rituals, the chants, the lived experiences has been lost to time, leaving only stone as a silent witness? The mystery of Valcamonica lies not only in its visual richness, but in its temporal depth. These carvings span thousands of years, yet they display continuity, suggesting cultural memory, spiritual practice, or social cohesion passed from generation to generation. They are, in essence, conversations across time, dialogues between ancestors and descendants, between humans and their environment, between the seen and the unseen. As the sunlight shifts across the valley, illuminating figures both ancient and enigmatic, one is left with a profound sense of connection and wonder. The Valcamonica rock carvings endure as tangible reminders of human curiosity, creativity, and the unending quest to understand the world. And yet, despite centuries of scholarship, the full story remains just out of reach. What secrets remain hidden in the rock faces of Valcamonica? What knowledge, rituals, or beliefs are etched in the stone, waiting for those patient enough to listen? And how many of these silent messages, spanning millennia, continue to defy our understanding, urging us to explore not only the past, but the enduring mysteries of human expression itself? From the windswept valleys of northern Italy, where the Valcamonica rock carvings bear witness to thousands of years of human expression, our journey now carries us across continents to eastern China. Here in Zhejiang province, a quiet countryside conceals a marvel of ancient engineering that challenges conventional understanding: the Longyou caves. Discovered by chance in 1992 by local farmers draining a pond, the Longyou caves are a series of man-made caverns, hewn meticulously from siltstone, covering more than 30,000 square meters. At first sight, they appear as simple subterranean chambers, Yet as one steps inside, the scale becomes staggering. Each cavern reaches heights of up to 30 meters, with massive columns, perfectly smooth walls, and ceilings adorned with regular chisel marks forming geometric patterns. The precision of the construction is astonishing. Straight edges, consistent patterns, and symmetry so exact that it suggests a level of planning and skill that seems almost unimaginable for the period in which they were created. The caves are estimated to be at least 2,000 years old, possibly dating to the Qin or Han dynasties. Yet they are curiously absent from historical records. There are no mentions in any surviving texts, no inscriptions or artifacts that might indicate their purpose, the identity of their builders, or the reason for their construction. For a civilization as meticulous as ancient China, the omission is striking. How could such enormous and labor-intensive structures escape notice entirely? The sheer magnitude of the Longyou caves is enough to provoke awe. Each cavern is enormous, with some capable of holding thousands of people. The rock columns supporting the ceilings are not random. They are carefully positioned and shaped to bear immense weight, demonstrating knowledge of structural engineering that challenges assumptions about the period. The floors are level, the walls polished, and the ceilings patterned with parallel grooves, giving the impression that these spaces were deliberately designed to impress, rather than to serve any obvious utilitarian function. Mainstream archaeologists have suggested that the caves may have served as reservoirs, storage facilities, or defensive shelters. Yet the evidence is incomplete. There are no signs of permanent habitation, no trace of water management systems sophisticated enough to support agricultural storage, and no defensive features such as gates or fortifications. The caves are too refined, too orderly, and too vast to be simple utilitarian constructions. Was there a ritual or ceremonial purpose, spaces designed for gatherings, worship, or some form of social or political congregation? Speculative theories abound, fueled by the cave's enigmatic nature. Some researchers suggest they could have been underground palaces or sanctuaries for elite rulers, spaces intended to impress or even intimidate. Others propose that the Longyou caves were used for meditation or spiritual practice, hidden retreats where monks or priests communed with forces beyond the material world. Yet, there is no direct evidence to confirm these ideas. The absence of inscriptions or artifacts leaves the purpose of the cave suspended in uncertainty, a question mark in the historical record that beckons the imagination. The methods used to construct the Longyou caves remain equally baffling. It is estimated that tens of thousands of workers would have been required to carve such volumes of stone by hand using tools available at the time. Yet there are no signs of tool wear patterns, quarry marks, or debris piles typically associated with such large-scale excavation. The precision of the chisel marks suggests a systematic approach, as if a master plan guided every cut, every column, every groove. How did ancient workers achieve such uniformity, scale, and stability without modern measuring instruments or engineering knowledge? The cave's design also hints at a deep understanding of acoustics and perception. Sound carries differently within the vast chambers. Whispers echo in unexpected ways, and the geometry of walls and ceilings seems to manipulate light and shadow with subtle effect. Could these features have been intentional, designed to enhance ritual, ceremony, or social gatherings? Or are they byproducts of meticulous attention to structural integrity and aesthetics? Walking through the Longyou caves today, one cannot help but feel a sense of profound mystery. The silence is almost tangible, broken only by the faint echo of footsteps and the whisper of air through corridors. Every wall, every column, every groove testifies to a level of craftsmanship and ambition that continues to defy explanation. The caves are monumental, yet anonymous, impressive, yet profoundly enigmatic. And perhaps the most compelling mystery of all is their invisibility in history. Such massive undertakings would leave traces in the surrounding society, yet there is no record of the cave's creation, no mention in contemporary chronicles, and no clues as to why they were forgotten. Were they deliberately hidden? Were they abandoned before completion? Or did later generations conceal them for reasons we may never understand? The Longyou caves endure as both marvel and riddle, a subterranean testament to human skill and ambition that challenges conventional historical understanding. They provoke a fundamental question. How much do we truly know about the ingenuity and capabilities of past civilizations? How many achievements lie hidden beneath the earth, their purpose lost to time, awaiting discovery by those patient and curious enough to explore them? As one stands within the cavernous chambers, gazing up at the sheer height and precision of the walls, it becomes impossible not to wonder. Who were the architects of this underground world, and what drove them to carve such monumental spaces, only to leave no record of their labor, their vision, or their society? And so, the Longyou caves remain one of the world's most tantalizing archaeological mysteries. A silent, sprawling underground city whose secrets have withstood the centuries, inviting us to ponder the ingenuity, ambition, and perhaps forgotten knowledge of those who shaped them. From the subterranean marvels of the Longyou caves, where human ingenuity carved enormous chambers in silence and secrecy, our journey now turns westward to the rugged Bekaa Valley of Lebanon. Here, amidst fertile plains framed by the anti-Lebanon mountains, lie colossal stone remnants that have long defied explanation, the Trilithon stones of Baalbek. Baalbek, known to the Romans as Heliopolis, is home to one of the most extraordinary temple complexes of the ancient world. Towering above the valley, the Temple of Jupiter boasts a foundation unlike any other, built with 6 megalithic stones, each estimated to weigh between 800 and 1,000 tons. These are the Trilithon, the largest cut stones ever employed in ancient construction. Their scale is almost unimaginable. To stand beside one is to feel the immensity of human effort frozen in time. Even the precision of their placement, perfectly aligned and joined without mortar, hints at a mastery of engineering that continues to inspire awe. Historical records attest that the Romans expanded the site, but the origin of the massive stone blocks predates them. Scholars believe that earlier civilizations quarried and partially positioned these stones, raising questions that remain unresolved. How were such enormous monoliths extracted, transported, and precisely aligned with the architectural foundations above? Modern cranes, levers, and vehicles can barely manage similar weights. Yet these stones were maneuvered with technology that remains largely speculative. The Trilithon stones rest atop a series of terraces, part of a massive platform that elevates the temple complex above the surrounding landscape. This platform, built from even larger stones, forms a stable base for the later Roman construction, but many researchers argue that it must have originated in an earlier era, crafted by an unknown culture. If so, the builders possessed not only immense physical capability, but an advanced understanding of structural engineering, geology, and logistics that rivals, if not surpasses, later civilizations. Mainstream archaeology often attributes the construction techniques to ingenuity and collective labor over decades or even centuries. Yet even the most optimistic assessments struggle to explain the precision of the cuts, the uniformity of the massive blocks, and the methods used to lift and align them. Did these ancient engineers rely solely on levers, ramps, and sheer manpower? Or was there some knowledge lost to history? Techniques perhaps passed down through generations but vanished before they could be documented. Speculation surrounding Baalbek extends beyond engineering. Some theories suggest the site may have served not merely as a religious center but as a hub of cosmic and ritual significance. The orientation of the temples aligns with certain celestial markers, and the enormous scale could have symbolized the connection between humanity and the divine. could the sheer size of the Trilithon have been intended to impress not only worshippers but also the heavens themselves? Was the labor invested in these stones a form of devotion, a sacred act frozen in limestone and sandstone? Other fringe theories posit that the stones could be remnants of an even older lost civilization, predating recorded history. These ideas are fueled by the apparent absence of tools or records capable of explaining how such massive stones were quarried and positioned with such precision. Was Baalbek built upon the knowledge of an earlier society whose understanding of mechanics and stone manipulation was far more advanced than commonly assumed? Could the Romans have merely inherited a foundation already monumental, whose origin was already ancient by the time their temples rose above it? The surrounding environment amplifies the mystery. The quarry sites, located just a few hundred meters from the temple, contain stones that, if lifted, would have surpassed the Trilithon in size. Some remain in situ, partially cut, suggesting an interruption or abandonment. Why were these stones left unfinished? Were the builders unable to complete the task, or did priorities change, leaving only these 6 monoliths in place? Each unanswered question adds weight to the enigma, compelling observers to consider possibilities beyond conventional explanation. Walking among the Trilithon stones today, one is struck by their presence, not merely by size, but by the precision and purpose inherent in their placement. The blocks, perfectly aligned, bear the marks of labor that spanned generations. They evoke both admiration and incredulity. How could humans, without modern machinery, manipulate such masses with this degree of accuracy? And why? Was the answer purely architectural, symbolic, ritualistic, or something we have yet to imagine? Even the surrounding temples, though magnificent, cannot overshadow the enigma of the foundations themselves. Here, beneath the grandeur of Roman architecture, lies a mystery older and more profound. A testament to human capability, ambition, and perhaps knowledge lost to time. The Trilithon of Baalbek invites us to reflect not only on what was achieved, but on what we may never fully comprehend. As the sun casts long shadows across the stones, illuminating their colossal faces and finely cut surfaces, we are left with a lingering question. Who were the builders of Baalbek, and what drove them to undertake a task so monumental, so precise, and so enduring that it continues to challenge modern understanding? What secrets hidden in the mass and alignment of these stones remain undiscovered, waiting to reveal the ingenuity, ambition, and perhaps lost knowledge of those who shaped them? From the colossal stones of Baalbek, where human ambition and engineering marvels tower in defiance of time, our journey now moves south along the Nile, deep into the heart of Sudan. Here, in the region of Nubia, lie the lesser-known yet equally enigmatic pyramids of an ancient kingdom whose stories have often been overshadowed by their Egyptian neighbors. The pyramids of Nubia, rising stark and silent from the desert sands, whisper of a civilization both connected to and distinct from the pharaohs, a kingdom that shaped history in ways that remain partially hidden. Scattered across the deserts near Meroe and Napata, these pyramids form a striking contrast to the broader Egyptian style. They are smaller in scale, more numerous, and often sharply angled, their sides rising steeply to narrow points, as if reaching toward the heavens with urgent precision. Over 200 pyramids are known to exist in the region, each marking the tomb of a king, queen, or noble of the Kushite dynasty, whose reigns stretched over a millennium. Their concentration is extraordinary, forming vast necropolises that dominate the arid landscape, their weathered stone facades catching the sun in a brilliant, almost otherworldly glow. Archaeologists have studied these structures for centuries, noting both their similarities and striking differences to the pyramids of Egypt. Unlike their northern counterparts, the Nubian pyramids are built with smaller stones, often using steep inclines and compact bases. Yet they exhibit an architectural elegance and structural integrity that has allowed many to endure the ravages of time. The interiors, though simpler than the complex labyrinths of Giza, often contain burial chambers, hieroglyphics, and inscriptions, hinting at a sophisticated culture with its own religious and social structures. Yet, despite extensive research, many mysteries persist. Why did the Kushites favor these steep, narrow designs? What determined the size and placement of each pyramid within the necropolises? And, perhaps most intriguingly, how did this civilization sustain the labor, resources, and organizational skills necessary to construct so many pyramids across such expansive desert terrain, particularly given their relative isolation from the Nile's abundant floodplain? Mainstream explanations emphasize cultural continuity with Egypt, trade, and political power. Nubian kings adopted Egyptian religious and funerary practices, yet the pyramids reflect uniquely Nubian aesthetics and priorities. They were both markers of status and instruments of spiritual belief, linking the living with the divine and the dead with eternity. But while scholars can trace influences, many questions remain. How did the Kushites acquire the engineering knowledge required for such constructions? Were their techniques lost to time that rivaled Egyptian methods, perhaps developed locally rather than borrowed? Some researchers have explored more speculative possibilities. The sharp angles and precise alignments of the pyramids raise the question of celestial orientation. Certain structures appear to be positioned with reference to the sun, stars, or cardinal points, suggesting a possible role as observatories, calendars, or even ritual focal points. Could the pyramids have served multiple functions, combining burial, astronomy, and ceremonial space? And if so, how much of this knowledge was deliberately encoded into the architecture, understood only by priests or royalty? Equally compelling is the question of labor and logistics. The Nubian pyramids are dispersed across wide desert expanses, yet each was constructed with care, precision, and uniformity. Tens of thousands of stones, quarried and transported across shifting sands, were positioned to create durable structures, some reaching heights of 30 meters or more. What social organization allowed such sustained effort, and what motivated a society to invest so much labor in monuments whose purpose, though sacred and symbolic, remains partially inscrutable? Excavations have revealed tombs containing rich artifacts, jewelry, pottery, and ceremonial objects, alongside skeletal remains that offer glimpses into health, diet, and social status. These discoveries illuminate the lives of those buried, yet they also raise further questions. Why do some pyramids contain elaborate burial goods while others are modest or empty? Does this reflect hierarchy, ritual choice, or historical disruptions? And how many tombs and treasures remain hidden beneath the sand, lost to time, waiting to tell their stories? Walking among the pyramids today, one is struck by a profound sense of scale, both physical and temporal. The desert stretches endlessly, punctuated by stone forms that have endured for millennia, defying the harsh climate, human interference, and the slow erosion of memory. These pyramids are silent witnesses to a civilization whose ingenuity, faith, and ambition rival that of their more famous neighbors. Yet, the mystery of their construction, purpose, and the society that built them remains tantalizingly incomplete. The pyramids of Nubia stand not only as burial monuments, but as a testament to human perseverance and vision. Each pyramid, whether grand or modest, points to a culture that sought to connect earthly existence with the eternal. And yet, for all the research, excavation, and scholarly attention, they retain an air of profound mystery, a silent question echoing across the desert. What untold knowledge, rituals, and stories lie buried beneath these stones, hidden from history and waiting for those who dare to uncover them? As the Sudanese sun sets, casting long shadows across the pyramids and turning the desert gold, one is left with an enduring sense of wonder. The pyramids of Nubia invite us to consider not only the architectural genius of an ancient civilization, but the mysteries that endure beyond written history. How much of the Kushite legacy remains undiscovered, and what might these silent monuments reveal about the nature of power, belief, and human aspiration in a world long past? The winter solstice remains a spectacle, drawing crowds from around the world, yet it also reinforces the mystery. Thousands of years separated us from the builders, yet their understanding of celestial mechanics is undeniable. How did they calculate the solstice so precisely? What instruments or observations guided them? And more profoundly, what did the experience mean to those who first constructed and entered the tomb? In the end, Newgrange is both a question and a statement. It speaks of mortality, cosmology, and human ingenuity, yet it leaves much unsaid. Its passageway is a portal not only to a tomb but to contemplation, reminding us that our ancestors wrestled with the same fundamental questions we continue to ask, about time, about life and death, about the cycles of nature and our place within them. As the winter sun rises over the Boyne Valley, illuminating the mound's ancient stones, we are left with a sense of reverence and wonder. Newgrange endures as it has for over 5 millennia, a silent witness to human ambition. And from the desert sands of Nubia, where pyramids rise like stone echoes of lost kings, our journey now turns to a remote corner of the Pacific, to an island shrouded in both isolation and mystery. Rapa Nui, or Easter Island. Here, far from the Nile and the Bekaa Valley, a different kind of enigma awaits. Not in monumental stone or colossal architecture, but in a language carved into wood, a system of glyphs whose meaning has eluded scholars for centuries. The Rongo-Rongo script. Rapa Nui is famed worldwide for its moai, the towering stone statues that watch silently over the island. Yet less visible, yet equally compelling, are the wooden tablets upon which generations of islanders inscribed lines of glyphs. Rongo-Rongo is composed of intricate symbols, abstract figures, humans, animals, celestial shapes, arranged in flowing sequences. Written in a Boustrophedon style, the text alternates direction with each line, suggesting both sophistication and ritualized intention. To gaze upon these tablets is to peer into a mind and culture separated from us by oceans and centuries, a civilization seeking to preserve its knowledge, beliefs, and perhaps history. The origins of Rongo-Rongo are shrouded in uncertainty. Some scholars believe the script emerged after European contact in the 18th century, while others argue it predates any Western influence, a homegrown system developed in isolation. The lack of corroborating documents or a Rosetta Stone equivalent makes decipherment exceptionally challenging. Unlike most known writing systems, there are no bilingual inscriptions, no contemporary accounts detailing its syntax, and no living memory of its usage. Every attempt to unlock its meaning has revealed tantalizing possibilities, yet yielded frustrating ambiguity. Mainstream interpretations suggest Rongo-Rongo may have been mnemonic, a tool to aid in the recitation of genealogies, chants, or ritual knowledge rather than a conventional language. Certain glyphs appear repetitively, perhaps denoting recurring events, ceremonies, or societal roles. Others resemble depictions of birds, fish, or celestial bodies, hinting at connections between daily life, sustenance, and cosmology. Could these inscriptions encode agricultural cycles, navigational knowledge, or sacred rites? Or do they contain historical records, stories, or laws preserved in a system now almost entirely opaque to outsiders? Speculative theories stretch further into the unknown. Some researchers have suggested that Rongo-Rongo may represent a fully developed written language, encoding concepts and stories with precision lost to time. Others propose more mystical interpretations, that the glyphs are symbolic conduits, vessels of spiritual knowledge meant to connect the living with ancestors or deities. Certain patterns seem to mirror astronomical events, including phases of the moon, star clusters, or seasonal changes. Was the script a scientific tool, a spiritual guide, or a synthesis of both, designed to transmit knowledge across generations in a precarious island environment? The tablets themselves deepen the mystery. Carved into the wood of native trees, they are fragile and rare, with fewer than 30 surviving examples. Each tablet bears evidence of meticulous craftsmanship, the glyphs carefully etched with sharp tools. Some glyphs are simple and repetitive, while others are complex and ornate, suggesting varying levels of meaning, purpose, or perhaps authorship. How did a small island population maintain the skill, knowledge, and materials necessary to produce these delicate artifacts over centuries, especially given the deforestation and resource scarcity documented in Rapa Nui's history? Even the act of reading Rongo Rongo is a puzzle. Its boustrophédon format requires the reader to turn the tablet in precise ways, alternating the direction of observation with each line. The tactile engagement of reading, turning, observing, and following a rhythm, suggests that the experience of the script was as important as its content. Could this have been intended to create a meditative or ritualized process, reinforcing memory, focus, or spiritual connection? Or was it simply a functional innovation in writing, optimized for the material and social environment of Rapa Nui? Attempts to decipher the script using linguistic comparison, statistical analysis, and pattern recognition have offered glimpses of possible meaning. Some sequences appear to reference lunar cycles or genealogical lists. Others suggest mnemonic markers for oral tradition. Yet no consensus has emerged, and many researchers remain cautious, acknowledging that even the most promising leads could be coincidental or misinterpreted. Every hypothesis, every analytical model, confronts the same immovable reality. The vast majority of Rongo Rongo remains undeciphered. Walking through the island today, with its volcanic peaks, stone platforms, and moai standing sentinel, one can imagine the ancient scribes at work, carving their glyphs into wood with care, intent, and reverence. Each tablet is a bridge to a lost world, a fragment of knowledge whose full depth may never be fully revealed. Rongo Rongo is a testament to the ingenuity of a people who, despite isolation, developed a symbolic system of extraordinary complexity, one capable of preserving cultural memory in the face of environmental and social challenges. Yet, as with many mysteries, the more we study, the more questions emerge. What stories, histories, and knowledge were lost when the island's forest dwindled and the tablets decayed? How much of Rapa Nui's intellectual and spiritual life remains hidden within these wooden inscriptions, waiting for a future capable of understanding them? And, perhaps most profoundly, what does Rongo Rongo tell us about the universal human desire to record, communicate, and preserve our place in the world, even in the most remote and challenging environments? As the Pacific waves lap against the volcanic shores, and the moai gaze silently across the island, the Rongo Rongo script endures as one of history's most enigmatic relics, a voice from the past that speaks to our curiosity, our wonder, and our recognition that some knowledge may remain just beyond reach, waiting for those patient and perceptive enough to hear it. From the distant Pacific shores of Easter Island, where the Rongo Rongo script whispers secrets of a vanished culture, our journey now turns southeast across vast oceans to a land of rugged mountains, dense forests, and mist-shrouded valleys. New Zealand. Here, hidden deep within the remote caves of Mount Owen, lies a fragment of history that has puzzled scientists and enthusiasts alike. A remarkably preserved moa claw, a relic of a bird that has been extinct for centuries, yet found in a context that raises questions about time, preservation, and human interaction. Mount Owen rises in the northern reaches of New Zealand's South Island, part of the isolated and dramatic Kahurangi National Park. The terrain is harsh, with sheer limestone cliffs, twisting caves, and narrow ravines. It is within this labyrinth of stone that the Moa claw was discovered, encased in a layer of stalagmite and mineral deposits that, at first glance, seem to date back thousands of years. The moa, a giant flightless bird that once roamed New Zealand's forests and plains, was thought to have been extinct by around the 15th century, following human settlement and overhunting. Yet the claw's discovery in a deep cave setting suggested something unusual, a preservation environment so unique that organic material could survive far longer than expected, opening doors to speculation and intrigue. The claw itself is massive, with sharp, curved talons that speak to the bird's formidable size and presence. Its surface is partially mineralized, bearing the marks of both natural processes and possibly contact with human hands. Carbon dating has produced results that confirm its ancient origin, but the context of the find, a sealed cave far from known moa habitats, raises questions that science has yet to fully answer. How did this single claw end up in such a location? Was it carried there by human hands as a tool, a trophy, or a ritual object? Or did geological forces alone deposit it within the cave, preserving it in mineral layers for centuries? Mainstream interpretations favor natural explanations. The claw may have been swept into the cave by a landslide, flooding, or other geological event. Its preservation could be attributed to the cave's stable temperature, low humidity, and mineral-rich environment, which slowed decomposition and fossilized organic material in a way rarely observed. Such processes are scientifically plausible, yet they do not fully account for the claw's position deep within a remote cave system, far from the forested areas where moa were known to roam. Speculative theories extend the mystery. Some researchers and enthusiasts propose that the claw's location hints at unknown human activity in New Zealand's distant past. Could early Maori or even pre-Maori inhabitants have ventured into these caves, transporting moa remains for ritualistic purposes, symbolic offerings, or other cultural practices now lost to history? If so, what does this imply about human interaction with moa, the timing of settlement, and the cultural significance of these birds beyond their role as food sources? Further intrigue emerges from the claw's preservation. Unlike most moa remains, which decay rapidly due to New Zealand's humid environment, the Mount Owen specimen displays remarkable detail. Keratin layers, claw curvature, and even microfractures are visible. Could this exceptional state be explained solely by natural mineralization, or is there a deeper environmental or even chemical factor at work within these caves that allowed such pristine survival? And if so, are there other yet undiscovered sites where similarly preserved specimens might exist, silently chronicling New Zealand's prehistoric ecosystem? The discovery also invites reflection on the moa itself, a creature whose extinction was swift, driven by human arrival and ecological change. The claw serves as a tangible connection to a lost world, a reminder of the scale and diversity of life that once existed on these islands. Yet its isolation in Mount Owen suggests that there may be aspects of the moa's history we have yet to understand. Their range, interactions with humans, and the possibility that some populations survived in remote refuges longer than the historical record suggests. Could this single claw hint at pockets of survival or behaviors that remain undocumented, waiting to reshape our understanding of New Zealand's natural history? Walking through the limestone caves of Mount Owen today, one can sense the tension between time and preservation, between the fragile and the eternal. Stalactites drip slowly from cavern ceilings, echoing in the still air, as if marking the passing centuries. The Moa claw rests quietly within this subterranean cathedral, a fragment of life, death, and environment intertwined. It speaks not only of the bird itself, but of the geological, ecological, and potentially cultural forces that conspired to protect it long after its species vanished from the surface world. And yet, the more we consider it, the more the mystery deepens. How many other relics of lost species, early human activity, or vanished ecosystems lie hidden in caves like Mount Owen, waiting to be revealed? What stories might they tell about survival, adaptation, and the interplay between humans and the natural world? And ultimately, what does this claw remind us about the fragility and resilience of life, the ways in which time can both preserve and obscure, and the enduring mysteries that the Earth continues to hold in its hidden corners? The Mount Owen Moa claw endures as a testament to curiosity and discovery, a single artifact that bridges the ancient past with the present, reminding us that even the smallest relics can carry profound mysteries. It invites reflection, wonder, and patience, challenging us to explore the unknown, question assumptions, and consider the layers of history that remain buried, waiting to be uncovered. From the mist-shrouded caves of Mount Owen, where a solitary Moa claw whispers of lost creatures and hidden histories, our journey now spans oceans and continents to the arid coastal plains of Peru. Here, in the Soup Valley, lies one of the oldest urban centers in the Americas, a site that predates the great civilizations of the Andes, yet continues to astonish archaeologists and historians alike: the Pyramids of Caral. Caral rises quietly from a landscape of dry hills and river terraces, its massive platform mounds and step pyramids etched against the horizon like echoes of a civilization reborn from the earth itself. Discovered in the late 20th century, Caral is estimated to have flourished around 2600 BCE, making it contemporaneous with the earliest cities of Mesopotamia and Egypt. Its monumental architecture, sophisticated urban planning, and complex societal structures challenge assumptions about the origins of civilization in the Americas. This is a place where humans, without metal tools, draft writing, or the wheel, engineered monumental structures with precision, vision, and enduring purpose. The pyramids themselves are imposing yet elegant. Step-like platforms rise in layered terraces, constructed from stone, adobe, and sun-dried bricks. The largest mound, nearly 60 meters in length and 18 meters high, dominates the site, while smaller pyramids, plazas, and residential areas spread outward, forming a network of spaces suggestive of communal, ceremonial, and possibly administrative functions. Observing Caral from above, one senses an intentionality that reaches beyond simple architecture, a city designed not merely for survival, but for ritual, social cohesion, and the assertion of cultural identity. Mainstream archaeology recognizes Caral as a cradle of Andean civilization. Scholars emphasize its sophisticated urban planning, drainage systems, sunken circular plazas, and acoustically resonant spaces that may have hosted ceremonial gatherings. Musical instruments discovered at the site, flutes, percussion tools, point to a society with aesthetic and ritual sensibilities, while evidence of trade networks indicates connections with distant coastal and highland regions. Yet, despite this knowledge, critical questions remain. How did such a society emerge in relative isolation without many of the technological innovations we typically associate with urban development? And how were monumental pyramids constructed with such precision and scale long before the development of metal tools or written language? Speculative interpretations extend the mystery further. Some researchers propose that Caral's pyramids functioned as astronomical observatories, aligned with solstices or key celestial events to guide agricultural and ritual calendars. Others suggest that the city's design reflects principles of sacred geometry, a conscious attempt to encode spiritual or cosmological knowledge into the built environment. Could these pyramids have been both practical and symbolic? Their terraces serving as stages for communal gatherings while simultaneously reflecting a deeper understanding of the universe. Equally puzzling is the apparent absence of fortifications, defensive structures, or evidence of warfare. Unlike later Andean civilizations, Caral appears remarkably peaceful. Its monumental architecture seems intended to inspire awe rather than repel enemies, raising questions about the social and political dynamics of early urban life. Was this city a hub of spiritual and economic coordination, maintained through consensus and ritual authority rather than coercion? And if so, what cultural or environmental factors allowed such a sophisticated society to flourish without the conflicts that shaped other ancient civilizations? The preservation of Caral adds another layer of intrigue. Over thousands of years, the arid climate and careful construction have allowed the pyramids, plazas, and residential terraces to survive, revealing both the skill of the builders and the resilience of the landscape itself. Archaeologists can trace the sequence of construction, identifying earlier mounds over which later structures were built. Each layer tells a story, not only of architecture and engineering, but of human ambition, adaptation, and vision. Yet so much remains elusive. The full purpose of ceremonial plazas, the content of any lost symbolic or ritual practices, and the potential knowledge encoded in the city's design are still largely inaccessible to modern interpretation. Walking among the pyramids today, the mind is drawn to the scale of human achievement and the mystery of intent. Each stone, each terrace, each plaza speaks of generations of labor, careful planning, and a worldview that integrated the material and spiritual. It is a city that defies assumptions about what early humans could accomplish, prompting us to reconsider the origins of complex society in the Americas and the sophistication of cultures that predated those more widely known. And yet, for all that has been uncovered, Caral continues to guard its secrets. What stories lie in the plazas and pyramids, encoded in patterns of stone and earth, that might reveal the motivations, beliefs, or knowledge of the people who built them? How did a society achieve such architectural, social, and cultural sophistication without leaving behind written records? And, perhaps most profoundly, what lessons about human ingenuity, adaptation, and imagination remain hidden, waiting for patient eyes to decipher? As the sun sets over the Soup Valley, casting long shadows across the pyramids, one is left with a profound sense of continuity and mystery. The pyramids of Caral endure as silent witnesses to human ambition and vision, reminding us that the quest to understand our past is as much about questioning as it is about knowing. In these stone terraces and sunken plazas, the echoes of a civilization long vanished still speak, inviting us to explore, to wonder, and to reflect on the enduring mysteries of human history. From the ancient urban terraces of Caral, where humans sculpted monumental pyramids in harmony with the land and stars, our journey now turns across oceans and centuries to a sunlit corner of the Aegean Sea. Beneath the waves off the coast of the small Greek island of Antikythera, a submerged wreck would yield a discovery that continues to astonish scientists and historians. A complex, corroded artifact, no larger than a shoebox, yet containing the intricacies of an astronomical computer far ahead of its time. This is the Antikythera mechanism, a relic of human ingenuity whose sophistication raises profound questions about the limits of ancient technology. The story begins in 1900, when sponge divers exploring the seabed of Antikythera stumbled upon a Roman-era shipwreck. Amongst marble statues and pottery fragments lay corroded bronze fragments, initially unremarkable. It was only decades later, under the careful scrutiny of modern X-ray and imaging technology, that researchers realized these fragments contained an astonishing array of interlocking gears, meticulously arranged with precision that rivals engineering from the modern industrial era. The mechanism could predict eclipses, track the movements of the sun, moon, and planets, and model cycles of the ancient Olympic Games, a sophistication thought impossible for the 2nd century BCE. Analysis of the Antikythera mechanism reveals more than 70 gears, each carefully cut and aligned. The teeth are triangular, uniform, and engineered to transmit motion with remarkable accuracy. The device's operation suggests knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, and mechanical engineering that challenges conventional assumptions about ancient Greek technology. How did artisans of the Hellenistic period conceive of such precision? What tools, methods, or intellectual frameworks allowed them to calculate celestial cycles and transform abstract theory into physical machinery? Mainstream interpretations suggest the mechanism was a scientific instrument, perhaps intended for teaching, predicting celestial events, or serving as a prototype for similar devices. Greek scholars, from Archimedes to Hipparchus, had developed highly sophisticated astronomical theories, and the mechanism may represent the tangible culmination of this knowledge. Yet the device's complexity surpasses what might be expected even from the most advanced Hellenistic workshops, and there is no written record explicitly describing its construction or purpose. The absence of contemporaneous documentation deepens the enigma, leaving us to wonder how such an object could exist in isolation, seemingly without precedent or apparent continuation. Speculative interpretations extend the mystery. Some researchers posit that the Antikythera mechanism may hint at lost traditions of mechanical engineering, technologies refined over generations yet largely forgotten. Could other similar devices have existed, their knowledge transmitted orally or through fragile instruments now lost to time? Might the mechanism reflect a broader culture of technological experimentation, one that combined astronomy, mathematics, and craftsmanship in ways modern historians are only beginning to appreciate? The Antikythera mechanism also challenges our understanding of the scale of human innovation. Its precision, the accuracy of its calculations, and the durability of its design suggest an advanced understanding of mechanical principles, including gear ratios, epicycles, and periodicity. Such knowledge is echoed in later medieval and Renaissance clockwork, yet here it appears over a millennium earlier, fully formed. How could this knowledge emerge independently, only to disappear from the historical record for centuries? And what does its existence suggest about other lost achievements of the ancient world, hidden beneath layers of sand, sea, or time? The artifact's recovery from the sea adds another layer of intrigue. Corrosion, sediment, and marine activity have preserved and yet obscured the mechanism, forcing modern scientists to reconstruct its design through painstaking imaging and digital modeling. Each layer of metal and oxide has become both a barrier and a clue, a material challenge that mirrors the intellectual challenge of understanding its original purpose. In many ways, the mechanism is both a puzzle and a message, intentionally complex, enduring, and silently challenging us to rethink the technological capabilities of the ancient world. Walking among the fragments today, scholars marvel at the ingenuity embedded in every gear and dial. The device represents not only a practical tool but a philosophical statement, that human curiosity, observation, and ingenuity can translate the movements of the heavens into tangible, mechanical form. It evokes awe not simply for its function but for the depth of understanding it embodies, a connection across centuries between observer, mathematician, and craftsman. Yet, for all we know, the Antikythera mechanism remains only a fragment of a larger story. How many other devices, instruments, or texts might have existed, encoding knowledge that has since vanished? Did the Hellenistic world harbor a tradition of mechanical engineering far more advanced than our surviving records suggest? And if so, what circumstances led to its disappearance, leaving the Antikythera mechanism as a solitary witness to a lost technological heritage? As the sun sets over the Aegean, casting golden light on the rugged shores of Antikythera, one is struck by the enduring mystery of this small, corroded artifact. It reminds us that human creativity is timeless, that knowledge can emerge and vanish, and that sometimes the smallest object carries the largest questions. The Antikythera mechanism invites us to ponder not only what ancient civilizations achieved, but what remains undiscovered, waiting beneath waves, soil, or stone, challenging our assumptions about the boundaries of science, engineering, and imagination. From the intricate gears of the Antikythera mechanism, which capture the celestial cycles with a precision unmatched in its era, our journey now turns eastward to the rugged, windswept valleys of central Afghanistan. Here, carved into cliffs of sun-baked sandstone, once stood colossal figures that have captured the imagination and reverence of travelers for centuries, the giant Buddhas of Bamiyan. Though tragically destroyed in the 21st century, their presence, both physical and symbolic, continues to speak across time, inviting us to ponder the artistry, ambition, and mysteries of the civilizations that created them. The Bamiyan Valley is stark and dramatic, a corridor of cliffs and caves carved by wind, water, and centuries of geological forces. Nestled within these cliffs, the two Buddhas once towered over 50 and 38 meters high, monumental not only in scale but in presence. Their outlines, etched directly into the rock and enhanced with stucco and pigment, portrayed serene, meditative figures exuding calm authority. One can almost imagine the interplay of sunlight and shadow illuminating their features at different hours of the day, transforming the valley into a living canvas of devotion. The effect must have been awe-inspiring, a visual declaration of faith visible for miles across the valley floor. Constructed during the 6th century CE, these statues represented the flourishing of Buddhism along the Silk Road, where cultures, ideas, and goods mingled in complex networks. The valley around Bamiyan was a crossroads of civilization, a place where Hellenistic artistic influences blended with Indian, Persian, and Central Asian motifs. Scholars note the intricate detailing of robes, proportions, and facial expressions as evidence of a sophisticated understanding of both art and engineering. But questions persist. How did artisans achieve such precision at such massive scale without modern scaffolding or tools? What methods allowed them to maintain symmetry and proportion on surfaces that stretch dozens of meters vertically? The destruction of the Buddhas in 2001 shocked the world. Yet even in ruins, the site remains deeply enigmatic. Archaeological study reveals that the statues were not merely monolithic. They contained carved chambers, internal scaffolding, and evidence of painted surfaces. Some caves behind the statues held frescoes, inscriptions, and niches for smaller figures, suggesting ritual and ceremonial functions that extended beyond the monumental presence itself. What was the purpose of these inner spaces? Did they serve as meditation chambers, repositories of sacred texts, or sites of ritual performance known only to select monastic communities? Mainstream explanations emphasize religious devotion, Silk Road influence, and the desire to project power and cultural sophistication. Yet speculative interpretations invite deeper inquiry. Could the scale and placement of the Buddhas reflect astronomical or cosmological intentions, aligning with solar, lunar, or seasonal cycles? Were these statues constructed to serve not only as devotional figures, but also as territorial markers, visible from distant trade routes, asserting both spiritual and political influence? And if so, what does this suggest about the intersection of religion, governance, and art in early Central Asian civilizations? The engineering challenges alone are profound. Carving figures of such magnitude directly into cliff faces requires careful understanding of rock composition, erosion patterns, and structural integrity. The artisans must have balanced aesthetic vision with practical knowledge of geology, a sophisticated integration of art and science. The application of pigments and stucco over irregular surfaces, combined with the precise shaping of hands, faces, and drapery, demonstrates a level of craftsmanship that continues to challenge modern engineers and art historians alike. How did these ancient artists coordinate such large-scale projects, often with limited written documentation? And what social or political structures supported labor, materials, and expertise over the decades required to complete them? The spiritual dimension adds another layer of mystery. The Buddhas of Bamiyan were not merely symbols, they were embodiments of belief, intended to inspire devotion, meditation, and contemplation. Travelers along the Silk Road wrote of the transformative experience of standing before the statues, overwhelmed by both scale and serenity. Were the carvings also intended to transmit specific philosophical or esoteric knowledge, preserved in gestures, facial expressions, or placement within the valley? If so, how much of this meaning has been irrevocably lost, and what might it tell us about the spiritual landscape of early Buddhism in Central Asia? Even today, the surrounding cliffs, caves, and remnants of stucco evoke a sense of enduring mystery. The valley holds countless niches, caves, and traces of human activity, hinting at a broader monastic and artistic community whose full scope remains largely unexplored. Archaeologists continue to examine fragments, pigments, and construction methods, slowly uncovering insights into the techniques, materials, and cultural context of the Bamiyan artisans. Yet every discovery seems to raise more questions. How did these monumental efforts fit within the social and political life of the region? What networks of knowledge, trade, and skill made such feats possible? And most poignantly, what intangible presence, spiritual, artistic, or cultural, remains within the valley, even after centuries of wind, time, and human destruction? Standing in the Bamiyan Valley today, even among rubble and eroded cliffs, one can feel the echoes of ambition, devotion, and human ingenuity. The giant Buddhas, though physically gone, continue to challenge our understanding of scale, skill, and intention. They remind us that monumental art can serve as both a spiritual conduit and a technical marvel, bridging human aspiration with the natural world. And they invite us to ask questions that may never be fully answered. What other lost monuments, cultures, or knowledge lie hidden in the valleys and mountains of our world, waiting to illuminate what humans are capable of? How many echoes of history lie beneath the surface, accessible only to those willing to observe, reflect, and wonder? The giant Buddhas of Bamiyan endure as silent teachers, guiding us through contemplation of scale, artistry, and mystery. Their legacy is not merely in stone or stucco, but in the questions they leave behind, and the enduring human fascination with the unknown. From the monumental cliffs of Bamiyan, where the giant Buddhas once presided over a valley of spiritual devotion, our journey now turns westward across the arid landscapes of Mesopotamia. Here, in the fertile plains between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, archaeologists have unearthed artifacts that continue to provoke fascination and debate. The Ubaid hybrid figurines. These small, enigmatic statuettes, dating back over 5,000 years, defy simple explanation, depicting beings that blend human and animal features in forms both unsettling and captivating. The Ubaid period, stretching roughly from 6,500 to 3,800 BCE, represents a formative era in Mesopotamian prehistory. Villages evolved into proto-urban settlements, with organized irrigation, communal architecture, and temples reflecting an emerging societal complexity. It is within these settlements that the hybrid figurines appear, crafted from clay, fired to hardened perfection, and sometimes perforated as if intended for suspension or ritual use. Their small size belies their profound impact. Each one conveys symbolic meaning that modern researchers are still striving to decode. Visually, the figurines are striking. Some possess elongated human heads, large, staring eyes, or exaggerated facial features. Others integrate animal characteristics, wings, horns, or hybridized limbs, creating forms that do not exist in nature. The combination is deliberate and precise, suggesting that artisans were not merely creating imaginative objects, but encoding symbolic, ritualistic, or spiritual ideas into tangible form. Some figurines even show humanoid bodies with distinctly alien or non-human traits, hinting at a worldview in which the boundaries between human, animal, and divine were fluid. Mainstream scholarship generally interprets these figurines as religious or ritual objects, perhaps representing deities, spirits, or ancestral figures. Many were found in temple contexts, while others appeared in domestic spaces, suggesting a dual role in both communal and personal practice. They may have served as protective talismans, offerings, or embodiments of spiritual forces invoked in ceremonies. Yet, despite decades of study, the precise meaning of the hybrid forms remains unresolved. Why merge human and animal traits? What concepts were these artisans attempting to communicate, and to whom were these messages addressed? The craftsmanship of the figurines reveals a sophistication that belies their age. Even in miniature, their creators paid meticulous attention to detail. Eyes are deeply incised or inlaid. Hands and limbs are positioned with deliberate gestures, and facial expressions capture an enigmatic, almost lifelike presence. Many figures display a remarkable symmetry and balance, indicating a refined understanding of proportion and form. The technical skill suggests a society that valued not just survival or utility, but the symbolic, the aesthetic, and perhaps the mystical. Speculative theories deepen the intrigue. Some researchers propose that the hybrid traits reflect visionary experiences, shamanic practices, or altered states of consciousness. Could these figurines have been representations of spiritual guides, intermediary beings capable of traversing the realms of humans, animals, and gods? In a culture where the natural and supernatural intertwined, perhaps these objects embodied forces beyond ordinary perception, forces that guided agriculture, fertility, or social order. Could the wings, horns, or elongated features signify power, protection, or cosmological knowledge now lost to history? Distribution patterns of the figurines further suggest a shared cultural or religious framework across Ubaid settlements. Similar motifs, elongated heads, large eyes, hybrid appendages, appear in multiple locations, hinting at a symbolic language that connected communities across vast distances. Could these artifacts represent a form of proto-writing, an early attempt to communicate complex spiritual or social ideas through universally understood symbolic forms? If so, what knowledge, rituals, or beliefs did this language encode, and why has it left no written record? Equally compelling is the context in which these figurines were found. Many were deliberately buried, sometimes in clusters, often in proximity to foundations, altars, or hearths. Such placement implies ritual significance, yet the reasoning remains opaque. Were these objects offerings to deities, guardians of households, or markers of life transitions such as birth, marriage, or death? The repetitive patterns and careful positioning suggest intentionality, a conscious effort to influence or interact with forces beyond the human sphere. The figurines also provoke questions about early human imagination. How did artisans conceive forms that merge human and animal characteristics so seamlessly? What inspired such creativity in a period we often consider technologically and intellectually primitive? These artifacts reveal a capacity for abstract thought, symbolic representation, and spiritual conceptualization that challenges conventional assumptions about prehistoric societies. They show that early humans were not only survival-oriented, but were deeply engaged in expressing complex ideas, beliefs, and fears through art. Some have suggested even more speculative interpretations. Could the hybrid forms reflect encounters with unknown species, perhaps animals or creatures that no longer exist, or were these purely symbolic expressions of mythic archetypes? Were these figurines meant to capture forces observed in nature or visions of beings that existed only in spiritual or dream realms? And if so, what does this imply about Ubaid cosmology, their perception of reality, and the ways in which they sought to bridge the known and the unknown? The enduring mystery of the Ubaid hybrid figurines lies not only in their form, but in their silence. Unlike monumental architecture or durable pottery, these small figures provide no explanatory text. They exist as tactile yet enigmatic witnesses, inviting interpretation, speculation, and reflection. Each figurine is a fragment of a cultural narrative we can glimpse but never fully read, a testament to the symbolic sophistication of a people whose beliefs, rituals, and imagination remain largely hidden. Even today, the figurines exert a subtle power. Observers note a sense of presence in the small objects, as if the makers imbued them with energy, intention, or consciousness. Perhaps this was their purpose, to serve as mediators between the human and spiritual realms, to embody forces otherwise invisible, or to carry protective or instructive power into daily life. Whatever their function, these artifacts remind us that the boundary between tangible reality and symbolic or spiritual representation is porous, and that early human societies explored it with remarkable ingenuity. And yet, with all we know, profound questions remain. What precisely did the hybrid forms signify to the Ubaid people? How extensive was the knowledge or belief system they represent? And how was it transmitted across generations? What else might remain buried beneath Mesopotamian soil, waiting to illuminate unseen dimensions of early human spirituality and imagination? The Ubaid hybrid figurines endure as enigmatic emissaries of a distant past, bridging thousands of years of human thought, creativity, and belief. They compel us to consider the depth of prehistoric imagination and the ways in which humans have always sought to understand the world around them, both visible and invisible. Each figure is a reminder that even the smallest object can carry profound mysteries, and that the line between history, symbolism, and the unexplained is far more delicate than we often imagine. In their silent presence, the figurines invite us to explore, to question, and to wonder, encouraging a reflection on the enduring mysteries that define not only the Ubaid culture, but human history itself. From the enigmatic clay figures of the Ubaid culture, which blur the lines between human, animal, and divine, our journey now moves far south, across continents and millennia, to the ancient rocks of South Africa. Here, hidden within layers of pyrophyllite in the Klerksdorp district, lie objects that seem almost impossibly precise. Small, metallic spheres, whose origins continue to perplex scientists and enthusiasts alike. These are the Klerksdorp spheres, artifacts that challenge conventional understanding of geology, metallurgy, and the very timeline of technological development on our planet. At first glance, the spheres appear deceptively simple. Most are no larger than a golf ball, though some reach several centimeters in diameter. Their surfaces range from smooth and polished to grooved with ridges or bands, some displaying distinct equatorial lines that divide them with near-perfect symmetry. The objects are composed of a nickel-iron alloy, sometimes containing traces of other minerals, and are extraordinarily dense. What makes them extraordinary, however, is not just their composition, but the precision of their shape and structure, so uniform that many observers describe them as almost artificial. Mainstream geology classifies the spheres as concretions, naturally occurring formations created over millions of years through mineral deposition around a nucleus, often under high pressure. Yet even within scientific circles, these spheres are considered unusual. The grooves and banding on many specimens are highly symmetrical, defying the randomness one expects from natural mineral growth. Some spheres contain internal structures, concentric layers, or radiating patterns visible only through careful examination. How could such consistent, near-perfect forms develop naturally in ancient rock strata, some estimated to be over 2.8 billion years old? The spheres were first collected and studied in the mid-20th century, drawing the attention of researchers intrigued by their regularity and metallic composition. Found embedded in pyrophyllite, a soft, easily eroded sedimentary rock, they are remarkably well preserved. Their contexts suggest that these objects have been stable for billions of years, existing long before humans, yet displaying a level of symmetry and material composition that appears almost designed. Could natural processes produce such precision consistently, or is there more to their formation than meets the eye? Some mainstream explanations point to geological processes such as concretion formation or accretion around a central nucleus. These processes, over vast spans of time, can create spherical shapes and concentric layering. However, the regularity of the grooves, the uniform diameter of many spheres, and the density of their metallic content leave lingering questions. Were these spheres entirely natural, or is there a possibility, however remote, that ancient, unknown hands influenced their shape? Could they represent the remnants of technological experiments conducted by civilizations lost to history, predating known human industry? Speculative theories extend into realms of mystery and imagination. Some observers have suggested that the spheres could be ancient machine parts, manufactured with a precision uncharacteristic of the geological timeline. Others propose that they were used as tools, bearings, or even as ritual objects deliberately shaped for unknown purposes. The equatorial ridges on many specimens resemble mechanical designs, prompting questions about whether early intelligent beings, human or otherwise, might have manipulated them. Could these objects be witnesses to a lost chapter of Earth's history, one in which natural and technological processes intertwined in ways modern science cannot yet explain? The age of the spheres adds further intrigue. Radiometric dating places their host rock in the Precambrian era, a time when life was microbial and human beings did not exist. How then could objects of such apparent design appear in layers dating back billions of years? If they are natural, their formation challenges our understanding of mineral crystallization and sedimentary processes. If they are artificial, their existence demands a reconsideration of the timeline of technological sophistication. Either possibility forces us to confront the limits of our knowledge. Examination under modern scientific methods, X-ray imaging, scanning electron microscopy, and metallurgical analysis, has revealed additional anomalies. Some spheres contain internal cavities or composite structures, concentric layers of differing metallic density, and patterns that suggest controlled formation. Could these be natural, the result of mineral deposition under extreme conditions? Or do they hint at processes that were intentionally engineered, intentionally left behind by unknown agents, and subsequently fossilized within the rock? The evidence is tantalizing precisely because it allows for multiple interpretations, each raising profound implications about the history of our planet. Contextualizing the spheres within the broader landscape of human curiosity, they evoke parallels with other unexplained artifacts, objects that seem impossibly advanced or anomalous for their apparent age. Like the Ubaid hybrid figurines, they straddle the line between natural and artificial, forcing us to question the boundaries between geology, technology, and imagination. Are the spheres merely a quirk of mineralogy, or are they part of a hidden record of processes we have yet to fully understand? The sphere's visual and tactile qualities are captivating. Holding one feels its weight, its density, its nearly perfect shape, and an uncanny sense of symmetry that resonates with the human mind's appreciation for design and order. The grooves, the bands, and the concentric patterns hint at purpose, while the geological context reminds us of the immense timescales involved. These are objects that compel reflection on human perception, the passage of time, and the ways in which seemingly simple artifacts can open profound questions about Earth's history and our place within it. Yet, for all that has been discovered, the Klerksdorp spheres continue to guard their secrets. How did their unusual properties develop? Could their form and structure arise from natural processes alone? Or is there evidence of ancient manipulation that predates any known civilization? What might these spheres tell us about the deep history of the Earth, the forces that shape it, and the possibility of unknown intelligence interacting with our planet long before humans appeared? The spheres endure as silent witnesses to the incomprehensible scale of geological and temporal processes, inviting contemplation of what is natural, what is engineered, and where the two might converge. They challenge us to expand our imagination, to remain humble before the ancient world, and to acknowledge the gaps in our understanding. Each sphere, perfectly shaped, dense, and mysteriously patterned, is a reminder that the Earth preserves riddles that resist simple explanation, waiting for those willing to observe, question, and wonder. In the quiet hills of South Africa, the Klerksdorp spheres sit nestled within their ancient rock beds, patiently enduring millennia of wind, rain, and tectonic movement. They embody a paradox, at once simple and complex, small yet profound, natural yet inexplicably precise. In their stillness, they prompt us to ask the questions that define the human pursuit of knowledge. What is possible in nature that we have yet to fully comprehend? What unknown forces, geological, technological, or perhaps even more mysterious, have shaped our world? And what remains hidden, patiently waiting beneath the surface, ready to challenge our assumptions and expand our understanding of history? The Klerksdorp spheres endure, not as answers, but as questions in solid form. They remind us that the Earth holds countless mysteries, and that every artifact, no matter how small or obscure, has the potential to reshape our understanding of the past. In their smooth, metallic forms, we glimpse the tension between the known and the unknown, the natural and the unexplained, a tension that defines the very essence of archaeological mystery. From the mysterious metallic spheres buried deep in the ancient rocks of South Africa, our exploration now moves northward, deeper into the heart of the African continent. Here, atop rolling hills and rocky outcrops in modern-day Zimbabwe, rise the remnants of a civilization that once commanded power, wealth, and influence far beyond its stone walls, the Great Zimbabwe Ruins. These extraordinary structures, built centuries ago, continue to confound archaeologists, historians, and travelers alike. Their sheer scale, precision, and enigmatic purpose pose questions that have yet to be fully answered, reminding us that Africa's past is filled with monumental achievements still shrouded in mystery. The first impression upon entering the ruins is one of awe. Massive walls curve and stretch across hilltops, constructed entirely from granite blocks fitted with remarkable precision, without mortar, cement, or modern tools. Some walls soar over 10 meters high, while the great enclosure, a semicircular fortress-like structure, is considered the largest ancient stone structure in sub-Saharan Africa. The labyrinthine passages, terraces, and towers of stone create a complex urban landscape, evoking questions about the planning, labor, and social organization required to build such a city. How is it constructed? How are tons of granite quarried, transported, and stacked with such exacting craftsmanship? Great Zimbabwe flourished between the 11th and 15th centuries CE, serving as a center of trade, culture, and political authority. Archaeological evidence indicates that the city was connected to far-reaching trade networks, extending across the African continent and even to coastal ports along the Indian Ocean. Artifacts unearthed at the site, beads, ceramics, and fragments of Chinese porcelain, suggest that the city was a hub of international exchange, linking local resources, including gold, ivory, and cattle, with markets thousands of kilometers away. But despite this evidence of trade and prosperity, the social, spiritual, and political structures of the city remain only partially understood. Central to the mystery is the purpose of the ruins themselves. The great enclosure, with its towering walls and conical towers, is widely thought to have served ceremonial or royal functions. Yet the lack of written records or inscriptions leaves much open to interpretation. Were these walls purely defensive, or did they symbolize power and prestige, a statement of authority visible across the valley? Were the conical towers symbolic representations of fertility, cosmology, or ancestral reverence, or did they serve a more practical role in urban planning and storage? Every hypothesis raises further questions, emphasizing the complexity of this ancient society. The precision of construction adds to the intrigue. Stones, some weighing several tons, were shaped and placed with minimal gaps, forming walls that have withstood centuries of weathering and erosion. How did the builders achieve this level of craftsmanship without metal tools or mortar? Some scholars suggest that knowledge of leverage, inclined planes, and collective labor organization made this possible. Yet the methods remain speculative, and the sheer scale and sophistication continue to inspire wonder. Could there have been knowledge, techniques, or social structures that we no longer understand, lost to the passage of time? Artifacts uncovered within the ruins provide glimpses of daily life and ceremonial practice, but also deepen the mystery. Soapstone figurines, many depicting birds, have been interpreted as symbols of spiritual or political authority. Pottery, ornaments, and imported goods indicate a society with refined tastes and far-reaching connections. Yet much of the symbolism embedded in these artifacts is opaque. Did the figurines carry messages about leadership, fertility, or ancestral veneration? Were they talismans, ritual objects, or representations of myths now lost? Each discovery raises further questions about the intersection of art, belief, and power in Great Zimbabwe. Speculative interpretations of the site push the boundaries of conventional archaeology. Some researchers have posited that Great Zimbabwe may have been a spiritual or astronomical center, its walls and towers aligned with celestial events such as solstices or equinoxes. Could the positioning of structures reflect knowledge of astronomy or cosmology, encoded into the very fabric of the city? Others suggest that the ruins' labyrinthine design may have had ritualistic or initiatory purposes, guiding inhabitants or visitors through a symbolic journey across the city. If so, what knowledge or spiritual experiences were embedded in this journey, and how did it shape the lives of those who lived here? The history of the site's discovery and interpretation adds another layer of complexity. Early European explorers and colonial narratives often dismissed Great Zimbabwe as the work of foreign or mythic civilizations, unwilling to credit African ingenuity. Over time, scholarship has corrected these misconceptions, affirming that the ruins are a product of indigenous African societies with remarkable technical skill, social organization, and artistic vision. Yet, the persistence of mystery remains, not in the recognition of authorship, but in the details of construction, symbolism, and daily life. How did this society achieve such remarkable feats of engineering and urban planning? What social, spiritual, and technological knowledge guided its creation? Great Zimbabwe's location further enhances its mystique. Perched on rocky hills, overlooking the valleys and rivers below, the city commands a vantage point that is both practical and symbolic. Water sources, arable land, and trade routes converged here, making it a natural hub of power. Yet its placement also suggests intention beyond practicality, a statement of permanence, an assertion of cultural identity, a monument visible for miles. Did the builders consciously design the city to inspire awe, to project authority, or to serve as a spiritual beacon for the surrounding region? Even today, the ruins evoke a profound sense of presence. Walking among the granite walls, one can imagine the bustling streets, ceremonial processions, and the rhythms of daily life. The city's scale and complexity demand reflection on the ingenuity, creativity, and ambition of its builders. And yet, with all the artifacts, walls, and towers preserved for centuries, fundamental questions remain. How exactly was the city organized socially, politically, and spiritually? What ceremonies or rituals unfolded within the great enclosure, and what secrets did they preserve? And most poignantly, what other knowledge about engineering, cosmology, or governance might have been encoded into the city itself, waiting for rediscovery? Great Zimbabwe endures not only as a testament to African civilization, but also as a symbol of the enduring allure of the unexplained. Its walls, towers, and artifacts offer tangible connections to a past that is partially visible yet profoundly enigmatic. They challenge us to consider the limits of our understanding, to question assumptions about technology, society, and spirituality in ancient civilizations, and to recognize that mystery is often an invitation to explore rather than a problem to solve. As we gaze across the ruins, imagining the lives that unfolded within their walls, we are reminded of a recurring truth in archaeology. The past is never fully revealed, and human achievement often transcends contemporary expectations. Great Zimbabwe is more than stone. It is a silent chronicle of ambition, faith, and ingenuity, a civilization whose mysteries endure across centuries. And as we reflect on its grandeur and enigma, we are left with questions that resonate far beyond the hills of Zimbabwe. How many stories, technologies, and spiritual practices of ancient civilizations remain hidden, waiting for those willing to observe, reflect, and wonder? How much of humanity's ingenuity has yet to be recognized, and what lessons might it hold for us today? In the shadow of these monumental walls, the Great Zimbabwe ruins stand as a testament to human creativity and the enduring power of mystery. They remind us that even in the familiar landscapes of our own world, there exist places that defy explanation, compelling us to pause, to study, and to marvel at the ingenuity, vision, and imagination of those who came before us. From the sweeping stone walls and towers of Great Zimbabwe, monuments to human ingenuity and ancient power, our journey now moves northward across continents and centuries to the Anatolian plateau of modern-day Turkey. Here, amidst rolling hills and fertile plains, stands one of the earliest surviving examples of monumental sculpture and architectural precision in the ancient Near East, the Hittite Lion Gate at Hattusa, the capital of the Hittite Empire. This imposing structure, adorned with carved lions poised in eternal vigilance, embodies both artistry and enigma, raising questions about symbolism, technology, and the messages the ancients sought to communicate through stone. Approaching the Lion Gate, one is struck first by scale and presence. Two colossal lions flank the entrance, their forms carved directly into limestone blocks with remarkable realism and dynamic posture. They stand upright, powerful yet poised, as if frozen in mid-stride, guarding the city against unseen threats. Between them, the gate itself rises, a towering portal built with precisely fitted stones, forming a strong and imposing threshold. Every element, lion, wall, and gate, is deliberately composed to convey authority, protection, and grandeur. One can almost sense the echoes of the past, imagining the bustling streets, soldiers on patrol, and ceremonial processions that once passed beneath their watchful gaze. Hattusa, flourishing around 1600 to 1200 BCE, was the seat of one of the most powerful civilizations of the Late Bronze Age. The Hittites commanded vast territories, engaging in trade, diplomacy, and warfare with neighboring kingdoms such as Egypt, Assyria, and Mycenaean Greece. The Lion Gate, as one of the primary entrances to the city, functioned not only as a defensive structure but as a statement of imperial power, a visual proclamation to all who approached. This was a city of strength, order, and divine sanction. Yet, while much is known about Hittite history from cuneiform tablets and archaeological studies, the deeper symbolic meaning of the Lion Gate and its guardian figures remains partially obscure. The lions themselves are extraordinary in both style and execution. Unlike the rigid and stylized animals of earlier Mesopotamian art, these felines convey a sense of movement, weight, and alertness. Their musculature, paws, and flowing manes are rendered with careful observation, suggesting that Hittite sculptors possessed both technical skill and an intimate understanding of the natural world. But why lions? In many ancient cultures, lions symbolize strength, courage, and protection, often associated with royal or divine power. Did the Hittites intend these guardians to embody a protective force, a spiritual presence, or a symbolic warning to those who might challenge the city's authority? The gate's construction is equally remarkable. Massive limestone blocks, some weighing several tons, were transported, shaped, and fitted with precision, a feat requiring advanced knowledge of leverage, planning, and labor organization. The craftsmanship raises questions about the tools and methods available to the Hittites. How did they achieve such exactness in an era without metal pulleys or cranes capable of lifting enormous stones? Were their techniques now lost to history, or does this mastery reflect a combination of ingenuity, collaboration, and trial and error refined over generations? The stones themselves, weathered over millennia, still convey the weight and permanence of their builders' intent. Archaeological context deepens the intrigue. The Lion Gate is one of several monumental entrances to Hattusa, each carefully positioned within the city's fortified walls. Their placement suggests not only strategic defense, but also ritual significance. Could the gates have functioned as thresholds between the mundane and the sacred, between the human and divine spheres? Were ceremonial processions or religious observances conducted beneath the watchful gaze of the lions, imbuing the stone guardians with a role beyond physical protection? The interplay between architecture, sculpture, and spiritual symbolism invites speculation about the Hittites' worldview, social hierarchy, and religious practices. The gate also raises questions about cross-cultural influence. Similar lion motifs appear in contemporary civilizations from Mesopotamia to the Levant, yet the Hittite lions possess a distinct style, combining realism with symbolic weight. How did these artistic traditions spread, evolve, and interact? Did the Hittites draw inspiration from neighboring cultures, or were they pioneers, creating a unique visual language of power and protection? The lions of Hattusa may be part of a broader network of ancient symbols, yet they remain singular in their execution, standing as a testament to the ingenuity and vision of their creators. Speculative interpretations have emerged around the Lion Gate's more enigmatic features. Some researchers suggest that the lions were intended as cosmic guardians, representing forces of order against chaos, a motif common in ancient Near Eastern thought. Others propose that the gates themselves encode astronomical or calendrical knowledge, their orientation and proportions aligned with celestial events, though evidence remains inconclusive. Could the Hittites have deliberately embedded layers of meaning in their monumental architecture, combining defense, ritual, and cosmology in ways we are only beginning to glimpse? The enduring mystery is compounded by the lack of written explanation accompanying the gate. Unlike cuneiform tablets that describe treaties, rituals, or administrative activities, the Lion Gate speaks silently through stone. Its message is visual, symbolic, and enigmatic, leaving modern observers to interpret intent, function, and significance through careful study and imagination. In this silence lies its power. The gate invites contemplation, encouraging viewers to bridge the gap between past and present, to question what knowledge and cultural sophistication lie behind its creation. Even the process of modern discovery and study adds layers to the narrative. European explorers first recorded the ruins in the late 19th century, yet the Hittites' accomplishments were long underestimated or misunderstood. Only through decades of excavation, preservation, and scholarly inquiry have the gates been recognized as central components of one of the most influential civilizations of the ancient Near East. Still, every discovery provokes new questions. What other monuments, inscriptions, or artifacts remain hidden beneath Hattusa's terrain? What insights into Hittite governance, spirituality, or technological prowess await uncovering? Walking through the Lion Gate today, one cannot help but feel a connection to the builders who raised these massive stones, carved these lifelike lions, and envisioned a city of power and permanence. There is a sense of presence, of deliberate intention, and of cultural sophistication that resonates across the centuries. The Hittites were not merely architects or sculptors. They were storytellers, philosophers, and visionaries who encoded meaning, authority, and spiritual resonance into stone. And yet, despite all that has been uncovered, fundamental mysteries remain. How were these gates constructed with such precision? What symbolic codes or ritual significance did the lions embody? And how much knowledge, technological, astronomical, or spiritual, was intentionally embedded in their monumental forms, only partially accessible to us today? The Hittite Lion Gate stands as a monument to human creativity, ambition, and the enduring allure of the unexplained. It reminds us that even in the distant past, civilizations possessed an extraordinary capacity for artistic expression, architectural innovation, and symbolic complexity. The gate challenges assumptions about the capabilities of ancient societies, inviting reflection on the intersection of power, spirituality, and craftsmanship. It endures as both a gateway and a question, a threshold not only into the city it once protected, but into the mind and culture of a civilization that continues to captivate our imagination. In its silent vigilance, the Lion Gate reminds us that history is not merely a record of events, but a landscape of mysteries waiting to be explored. Every stone, every carved lion, every aligned passage prompts reflection. How did the Hittites conceive such monumental structures? What inspired the fusion of realism and symbolism in their artistry? And what other secrets of human ingenuity and cultural sophistication lie hidden in ruins scattered across the world, awaiting those who are willing to observe, study, and wonder? The Hittite Lion Gate, steadfast atop the hills of Anatolia, endures as a testament to the ingenuity and vision of an ancient civilization. It stands not only as a gateway to a city of power, but as an invitation for us to consider the enduring mysteries of the past, and to ponder what lessons and revelations remain just beyond our understanding, carved in stone for millennia.